Chapter 466. Boom. At this moment, a vast and unparalleled power gushed out of the divine sense celestial Laksana and attacked Ling Zhao's primordial spirit at lightning speed. It was Lu Changhe's primordial spirit. I know you're not willing to accept this, but do you think you can do anything to me? Ling Zhao sighed softly. There was no surprise in his eyes. So what if you're my patriarch? As long as I devour you, I'll be the new sky-devouring supreme. All your peerless martial arts and supreme inheritances will be mine. Lu Changhe's eyes were full of fervor. He had used the cicada shedding shell trick just now to deceive Ling Zhao. As long as he could destroy Ling Zhao's primordial spirit in an instant, his possession would be considered a success. Freeze! Ling Zhao uttered a word softly. Lu Changhe's primordial spirit stopped in front of Ling Zhao and was bound by a vast and mighty force. What? Lu Changhe's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with horror, and he wanted to beg for mercy. Break! Ling Zhao uttered another word. Lu Changhe's primordial spirit immediately exploded. The vast primordial spirit power was devoured by the wordless heavenly book and turned into the purest primordial spirit power, which was then devoured by Ling Zhao's primordial spirit. Ling Zhao had long known that Lu Changhe would not die so willingly. As expected, he had the idea of launching a sneak attack. It was a pity that the wordless heavenly book was protecting the primordial spirit. A real supreme master might be able to cause some trouble for Ling Zhao, but Lu Changhe was just an old half-step supreme master. He could not resist the power of the wordless heavenly book. My promise to you still stands. As long as the Lu family doesn't cause me any trouble, I'll let them go. Ling Zhao muttered to himself. There was a trace of emotion in his eyes. I wonder what kind of divine sense is in Lu Changhe's divine sense celestial Laksana? Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. He sent a trace of primordial spirit power into Lu Changhe's divine sense celestial Laksana. The divine sense celestial Laksana could be said to be the foundation of Tao. It was also the source of one's martial arts. It contained the powerful divine sense law that a warrior cultivated. The reason why Ling Zhao was so interested in unparalleled divine abilities was because among minor divine abilities, great divine abilities, and unparalleled divine abilities, only unparalleled divine abilities contain the most complete laws of heaven and earth. However, supreme divine abilities were too precious and difficult to cultivate. Therefore, unless one was a peerless genius of a great holy land, it was very difficult for ordinary people to cultivate supreme divine abilities. Lu Changhe said that there was a supreme divine ability in his primordial spirit Dharma form, which surprised Ling Zhao. 1. Lu Changhe's primordial spirit spell form was like another world. Within it, there were 38 bright stars and each star represented a different abhijna. However, just as Lu Changhe said, there were 30 types of lesser abhijnas and 7 types of greater abhijnas. The star in the center looked perfect and flawless. It was also the supreme divine ability that Lu Changhe had mentioned. Great soul destruction art. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Zhao's eyes. He discovered that the supreme ability was called the Great Soul Eradicating Technique. It gave off a mysterious and ancient ripple of laws, containing a power that could obliterate souls. It comes from the same source as the soul eradicating needle. This Great Soul Eradicating Technique looks very ancient. Lu Changhe must have brought it out from the cave of the gods. No wonder Lu Changhe dared to possess me. With this Great Soul Eradicating Technique, even the primordial spirit of a half-step supreme being will die without a doubt. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. With his experience, he could naturally tell that the Great Soul Eradicating Technique was extraordinary. It contained unparalleled power and directly attacked the primordial spirit. Its power was extraordinary. The Great Soul Eradicating Technique's laws are complete. It saves me a few decades of cultivation. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He did not hold back and immediately used the sky-devouring secret skill. A golden lotus swallowed the star of the Great Soul Eradicating Technique and integrated it into Ling Zhao's primordial spirit. Boom! Instantly, the infinite mysteries of the Great Soul Eradicating Technique were mastered by Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao could feel that his cultivation had completely stabilized at LV1 Noble Realm. As for the remaining minor and major superpowers, Ling Xiao did not devour them. He kept them for the time being. Ling Xiao had already decided that the direction of cultivation in the noble plane was to only condense supreme superpowers. He did not want to condense any minor superpowers or major superpowers. In his previous life, Ling Xiao had condensed 11 major superpowers and 70 major superpowers. He had used 91 superpowers to condense a superpower dharma, which had shocked the world. Now that he was reborn, Ling Xiao's standards were even higher. He no longer cared about major superpowers. If I can condense 91 supreme superpowers, I will definitely surpass the peak of my previous life. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. 1 LV 1 noble realm corresponded to 1 superpower. Cultivating 9 major superpowers would allow one to break through to the noble realm. However, there were many geniuses who had condensed dozens of superpowers and had accumulated a lot of experience. However, Ling Xiao knew that the maximum number of supernatural powers a noble plane cultivator could cultivate was 108 supernatural powers. Since ancient times, not to mention 108 divine abilities, even 49 divine abilities were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. One needed to cultivate at least one heaven-level martial arts technique to perfection to condense a superpower. To cultivate a heaven-level martial arts technique to perfection, it would take at least a few years to a few decades. As for supreme martial arts, to condense supreme superpowers, it would take at least a few decades. The noble realm only had a lifespan of 1,000 years. Although many geniuses would stay in this realm for a long time, it was still too difficult to condense supreme superpowers. The second level of the sky-devouring secret skill can already devour the superpowers in the Dharma Laksana and turn them into my own use. Should I rob some geniuses from the holy lands of martial arts and obtain supreme superpowers from them? The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled up as he thought to himself. Although Ling Xiao had many cultivation methods for supreme superpowers, even if he was extremely talented, it would still take him a few years or even decades to condense a supreme superpower to perfection. Ling Xiao took a look at the supreme superpowers he had. 4 Elephants Sky Striking Style, 5 Elements Sky Sealing Style, 6 Paths of Reincarnation Style, Reincarnation Superpower, and the 4 secret skills were all considered supreme superpowers. However, for most of these, he had only cultivated to the great accomplishment or small accomplishment realm. Just like the true Phoenix secret technique, he was still stuck at the superficial level. If he wanted to condense a supreme divine ability, he did not know how long it would take. The great soul-destroying technique was Ling Xiao's first supreme superpower. Therefore, his cultivation level had completely stabilized at Noble Realm Level 1. The matter with the Lu family has been settled. I should leave this place. I'll find the precious treasure pavilion and ask about Shui Wei and the old goat's whereabouts. Then I'll go to the Gemini Mountain to take a look. Finally, I'll go to the Crystal Palace to find Mother. Ling Xiao thought to himself as he planned his next itinerary. The Gemini Mountain was located in the east of the War God continent. It was hundreds of states and tens of millions of miles away from the Taixing state, where Ling Xiao was now. Fortunately, the Crystal Palace was in the East Sea. It was on the way. Chapter 467. Lu Xiongshi, how did my son Pei Long die? If you don't give my Feng clan an explanation today, the Lu clan will completely disappear. A middle-aged man in black battle armor, with long hair fluttering in the wind, was shrouded in blazing multicolored light. His entire body was suffused with sharpness, and his gaze was gloomy as he stared at Lu Xiongshi. Lu Xiongshi laughed bitterly and said with a flattering smile, Feng clan head, I've already told you clearly. Nephew Feng Pei Long was killed by Ling Xiao. Our Lu clan has already sent experts to capture Ling Xiao. We will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Although Lu Xiongshi still looked very weak, his body had already recovered. An Emperor Dao expert's vitality was extremely strong, and it was easy to regrow a severed limb. However, Lu Xiongxi's cultivation had yet to fully recover. Facing the incomparably powerful Feng Mo Dao, he could only smile. At the same time, Lu Xiongshi was secretly looking forward to it. As long as the old ancestor came out of seclusion, he would be able to kill Feng Mo Dao in an instant. At that time, the Lu clan would completely leave the Grand Star region, and even the star sect wouldn't be able to find their whereabouts. Lu Xiongshi, do you really think I'm easy to deceive? How could a mere celestial realm brat possibly kill my son? Moreover, my second brother and my Feng clan's disciples have all died in your Lu clan. Feng Mo Dao's voice was extremely cold and filled with monstrous fury. Since you're so dishonest, then I'll capture you first. When the time comes to search your soul, I'll naturally get the answer I want. Feng Peilong and those Feng clan's disciples' soul tablets shattered at the same time, causing a huge uproar in the Feng clan. Especially Feng Mo Dao, who was both shocked and furious as he killed his way to Stellar Sky City alone. However, after arriving at Stellar Sky City, Lu Xiongshi evaded in every possible way and didn't tell the truth, which instantly caused Feng Mo Dao to have killing intent. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out from Feng Mo Dao's body. His entire body radiated with sharpness like an unsheathed divine saber, emitting a domineering and terrifying power that caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Brother Feng, let's talk things out. Don't be rash. Lu Xiongshi's expression changed. Feng Mo Dao was actually going to make a move on him. Feng Mo Dao's cultivation was originally stronger than Lu Xiongshi, and Lu Xiongshi's injuries, so it was impossible for him to be a match. Crack. At this moment, the small silver mountain in the forbidden area of the Lu clan shone brightly. Ling Xiao left the small silver mountain and appeared in the void. Congratulations, elder ancestor. When Lu Xiongshi saw Ling Xiao, he thought that Lu Changhe had successfully taken over his body. He immediately knelt before Ling Xiao and spoke respectfully. All the disciples of the Lu family knelt down, their eyes filled with fanaticism. Feng Mo Dao glanced at Ling Xiao, his eyes revealing a trace of surprise as he said coldly, Lu Xiongshi, could it be that you're stupid? How dare you call a young man in the noble plane your ancestor? Feng Mo Dao, you actually dare to be rude to the ancestor? You're dead. Lu Xiongshi sneered. Ling Xiao's exit seemed to have given him great confidence, making him no longer afraid of the Feng Mo saber. Lu Xiongshi, although this young master feels great when you call me old ancestor, I don't have a grandson as old as you. Ling Xiao glanced at Lu Xiongshi and smiled lazily. What? Lu Xiongshi's entire body trembled as if he had seen a ghost and began to tremble. You're Ling Xiao. Lu Xiongshi's voice was unconsciously trembling. Wasn't the ancestor already going to take over Ling Xiao? Why was Ling Xiao still standing here perfectly fine? Then the ancestor, Lu Xiongshi already didn't dare to think about it, and his expression became incomparably ugly. Ling Xiao, where is the ancestor? Hearing Lu Xiongshi's angry roar, Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, Lu Changhe is deeply sinful and has already gone to see Heavenly Star Supreme. Lu Xiongshi's face immediately turned pale, and a trace of despair appeared in his eyes. The ancestor was a half-step supreme, and his strength was incomparably powerful. Even in the martial Dao Holy Land, he was a peerless expert. How could he not succeed if he wanted to take over Ling Xiao? You're Ling Xiao? Did you kill my son, Peilong? Feng Mo Dao's eyes flashed with killing intent, and his voice was incomparably cold. Feng Peilong? That's right, that brat didn't know what was good for him. He was indeed killed by me. You want to avenge him? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Feng Mo Dao was merely at the third level of the monarch realm. If it was before Ling Xiao broke through, then perhaps he would be slightly fearful. But at this moment, Ling Xiao had no intention to flee at all. Feng Mo Dao's gaze instantly turned gloomy. You're courting death. Rumble. A strand of vast energy erupted. Feng Mo Dao's palm blazed with blazing light, and then a black blade of light soared through the sky and slashed towards Ling Xiao. When an Emperor Realm expert condensed a divine ability, his attack carried monstrously terrifying might that shook the heavens and the earth. Even though Ling Xiao seemed to be looking down upon Feng Mo Dao, he was actually prepared for battle in his heart. Bang! Ling Xiao smashed his fist forward, causing the divine glow of the four symbols to shoot into the sky and transform into a chaotic fist that was invincible. The four elephants' sky-striking style contained great willpower, great wisdom, great destruction and great strength. Ling Xiao was becoming more and more proficient in using it. He was already on the verge of cultivating it to the realm of perfection. Crack! The black blade of light was instantly blasted into pieces by Ling Xiao. And then Ling Xiao stood on a golden glow while divine light flickered in his eyes as he smashed it towards Feng Modeo's head. "You're courting death." Feng Modeo was both shocked and furious. As soon as Ling Xiao made his move, he felt that this young man before him was extremely terrifying. The strength of his physical body was extremely abnormal, and his blood qi surged like a divine beast cub. Not only did he break Feng Modeo's attack, he even counterattacked. Rumble! Feng Modeo soared into the sky, and there seemed to be a resplendent divine ring behind him. There were 18 stars flickering within it, and 2 of them were extremely powerful, representing the 18 divine abilities that Feng Modeo cultivated. Feng Modeo slammed down with his palm, and the divine ring soared through the sky like a river of stars flying over. It was extremely resplendent, and contained unparalleled power. This was the power of the divine ability Dharma Idol. It fused 18 divine abilities, and this attack was comparable to a supreme divine ability, causing Ling Xiao to feel a sense of danger. Kill. Ling Xiao's eyes were overflowing with battle intent. 5-colored divine light flowed around his body, and he soared into the sky like a heavenly pillar, sealing the heavenly pillar. His left hand used the 4 symbols Heaven Strike style, and his right hand used the 6 paths of reincarnation style. The 3 ultimate killing moves erupted at the same time. As if the primal chaos was repeating itself, the power of earth, water, wind, and fire filled the air. The world of reincarnation gushed with divine light, and mysterious visions of gods ascending appeared one after another, clashing with Feng Modeo's attack. Crack! The void trembled violently as countless bolts of lightning flashed. The Liu clan manor was completely destroyed. Countless huge ancient trees and exquisite palaces were turned into dust. Chapter 468. Great Soul-Destroying Art. After Ling Xiao and Feng Modeo clashed head-on, they advanced instead of retreating. 2 incomparably cold divine lights shot out from their eyes. Buzz. The 2 divine lights were incomparably deep and intertwined with each other. They contained a terrifying power, and shot directly towards the center of Feng Modeo's eyebrows. It's actually a supreme divine ability. Feng Modeo's body trembled, and his eyes revealed an incomparably shocked expression. The great soul-destroying art that Ling Xiao used made his scalp tingle, and his primordial spirit trembled, as if the end of the world had arrived. Feng Modeo didn't even think about it. A long black saber appeared in his hand, emitting a cold sharpness as it suddenly slashed down. However, the great soul-destroying art was invisible and directly targeted the primordial spirit. Unless Feng Modeo had a primordial spirit defensive treasure, he could only use the power of his primordial spirit to withstand it. Boom! A primordial spirit storm seemed to have arisen in Feng Modeo's primordial spirit. The great soul-destroying art shot out countless black divine lights, like endless sword qi, towards Feng Modeo's primordial spirit. Get lost! Feng Modeo roared. His primordial spirit bloomed with resplendent divine light, and runes filled the air. The majestic primordial spirit power blocked the attack of the great soul-destroying art, but in the end he was still injured by a few soul-destroying divine lights, and his primordial spirit somewhat dimmed. Soul-destroying needle, go! A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. As the saying goes, take advantage of the other party's weakness. Just when Feng Modeo thought that he had finally blocked the great soul-destroying art and relaxed his mind, the soul-destroying needle flew through the air. It was extremely fast and instantly pierced through Feng Modeo's forehead, shooting towards his primordial spirit. This time, Feng Modeo's soul had completely left his body. The soul-destroying needle was ancient and mysterious. It was a supreme treasure that Lu Changhe had brought out of the God Burial Cave. It came from the same source as the great soul-destroying art. Ling Xiao could even feel an evil curse power from it. Once the primordial spirit was contaminated, one could only wait for death. The aura from the soul-destroying needle made Feng Modeo feel the threat of death. He instantly roared and began to burn the essence of his primordial spirit. He instantly set up layers of defensive restrictions, wanting to block the attack of the soul-destroying needle. Puff puff puff. Under the attack of the soul-extinguishing needle, the restrictions in Feng Modeo's sea of consciousness were like paper, instantly shattering. The soul-extinguishing needle directly pierced through Feng Modeo's primordial spirit, and a terrifying soul-extinguishing power erupted. Feng Modeo's primordial spirit instantly exploded. Ling Xiao did not stop there. With a flash of light in his right hand, a brick appeared. It was the heavenly steel of sun and moon. After being imbued with the heaven-devouring true qi, it instantly became as heavy as a divine mountain, and slammed towards the Feng Mo saber. Crack. Feng Modeo's face was directly flattened by Ling Xiao. His head sank into his body. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and he completely lost all signs of life. An Emperor Realm expert was killed just like that by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and shook his head with a bitter smile. Speaking of which, Ling Xiao wasn't satisfied with this battle. If he didn't rely on the soul annihilation needle and the heavenly steel of sun and moon, it would be impossible for Ling Xiao to kill Feng Modeo. At that time, it would be a bitter battle. Although the great soul annihilation spell was strong, Feng Modeo had condensed a divine ability, so his primordial spirit had a layer of defense. It wasn't that easy to completely destroy Feng Modeo's primordial spirit. As for Lu Xiongshi, Lu Tianlin, and even Lu Wan, they were all scared silly. Feng Modeo's cultivation was even higher than Lu Xiongshi's by a level, yet he died at Ling Xiao's hands just like that. They felt as if they were dreaming. With a flash of light in Ling Xiao's hand, he took Feng Modeo's storage ring and the black saber. The black saber was called the Feng Chen saber. It was a high-grade Dao artifact and could be considered quite precious. Unfortunately, before Feng Modeo could unleash its power, he died at Ling Xiao's hands. When Ling Xiao's gaze landed on Lu Xiongshi and the others, they were immediately shocked and began to tremble. Ling Xiao saved Lu Wan, but the Lu family repaid his kindness with enmity. Even the Lu family's ancestor, Lu Changhe, wanted to possess Ling Xiao, but he still died at Ling Xiao's hands. Ling Xiao probably wouldn't let the Lu family off, right? Just as Lu Xiongshi and Lu Tianlin were trembling and wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy, Ling Xiao retracted his gaze. For Lu Gichen's sake, I'll spare your lives. You're on your own, Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then his body turned into a stream of light and shot into the distance, leaving Tianxing City. Ling Xiao left just like that. Lu Xiongshi and the others were stunned. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to let them off so easily. Now that he thought about it, Lu Xiongshi's mouth was filled with bitterness. If it wasn't for the Lu family looking down on others and wanting to use Ling Xiao's life to curry favor with the Feng family, such a thing wouldn't have happened, right? Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The Lu family suffered heavy losses this time. Not only did they completely offend Ling Xiao, but they also offended the Feng family. Even their ancestor, Lu Changhe, was lost. Who is he? Does he really have a relationship with ancestor Tianxing? Lu Wan'er looked at Ling Xiao's departing figure and felt lost. Originally, she was arrogant and had a high status. She looked down on Ling Xiao and thought that they weren't from the same world. But now, she understood that she and Ling Xiao were indeed not from the same world. An ant mocked a divine dragon. But they didn't know that the ant only had a small piece of land, while the divine dragon had the sky and the sea. The reason why Ling Xiao left Tianxing City so quickly was because he suddenly felt a sense of fear. That fear came from the depths of his soul. It was as if something terrible was about to happen. It was a feeling of impending disaster. That was why Ling Xiao left Tianxing City so quickly. The Lu family was no longer a threat to Ling Xiao. For Lu Gichen's sake, Ling Xiao let Lu Xiongshi and the others go. Swoosh. After Ling Xiao broke through to the noble realm, his teleportation secret art had also broken through to the minor completion realm. In an instant, he was thousands of meters away. His speed was extremely fast. Ling Xiao rushed towards the south. Finally, he entered a desolate mountain range and wiped out all his aura. Then he used the sky-devouring secret art to conceal all his aura and changed his appearance. He jumped onto a void treasure ship and headed south. Just a few hours after Ling Xiao left the stellar sky city, the stars in the sky seemed to have lit up. A vast and mysterious aura presence descended, and an old man with white hair and beard descended from the void. He wore a starry Taoist robe, and his eyes were deep. He was like a powerful god, causing everyone in the Stellar Sky City to tremble in fear. The old man's face was filled with cold killing intent. A light flashed in his hand and countless runes spread out. Suddenly, a light screen appeared in front of him. It showed the scene of Ling Xiao killing Feng Peilong. "How dare you kill my disciple? Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, you will die without a doubt." Chapter 469. Rumble. The sky shook and boundless starlight fell. A divine rainbow traversed the universe and extended to the south. The elder took a step forward, and there was a bright flowing light. He instantly appeared 1,000 feet away and chased to the south. "It's the elder of Star Palace?" In the manor of Lu family in Tianxing City, Lu Xiongshi and the others felt the power that shook the universe. They were facing a great enemy. When they saw the elder in the void, they instantly recognized him. The elder was the elder of Star Palace, He Chengji. He Chengji was the deacon elder of Star Palace. It was said that he had broken through to half-step to Supreme Master a few hundred years ago. His power was unfathomable, and he had a high position in Star Palace, second only to the Master of Star Palace and a few Supreme Elders. Lu Xiongshi never thought that He Chengji would value Feng Peilong so much that he would personally come to kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao is dead for sure this time. However, Lu family has offended Feng family and Star Palace. We can't stay in Tianxing City anymore. Pack up quickly and let's leave. Lu Xiongshi's eyes were cold, and he quickly ordered Lu Tianlin and the others. "Grandfather, where are we going?" Lu Wan'er looked haggard and her eyes were filled with confusion. "We are going to Azura province to seek shelter from your father. Your father is now an outer sect elder of Azura sect. With Azura sect's protection, even Feng family and Star Palace wouldn't dare to harm us." Lu Xiongshi said slowly, and he felt a sense of urgency. "My father." Lu Wan'er was stunned and there was a glimmer of light in her eyes. Azura province was far away from Great Star province. Great Star province was at the northernmost part of War Godland while Azura province was near the center. They were dozens of provinces apart. Azura sect was a martial arts sanctuary that wasn't weaker than Star Palace. Lu Wan'er's father, Lu Tianfeng, had been a disciple of Azura province since a long time ago. Lu Tianlin's eyes brightened and he said, "Father is right. Azura sect isn't weaker than Star Palace. They are even stronger. 10,000 years ago, there was a peerless figure like Azura Supreme. By then, with Wan'er's Heaven Star bloodline, if the Holy Son of Azura Sanctuary takes a fancy to her, Lu family will definitely rise again." Tianlin is right. With Wan'er's beauty and talent, in addition to her Heavenly Star bloodline, those peerless geniuses of the Azura Holy Land won't be able to resist her. Lu Xiongshi smiled as if he had seen new hope. Everyone from the Lu clan hurriedly packed up their things and took away all sorts of treasures. They left behind a few loyal clansmen to guard the Lu clan manor. They only brought along a few core disciples and hurriedly left Stellar Sky City, preparing to head to the Azura province. Ling Xiao boarded the Void treasure ship and left the Stellar Sky City. Even though he felt that he had erased all traces, he still couldn't get rid of that palpitating feeling. Taking the Void treasure ship is too slow. We have to leave the Grand Star State through the Void teleportation array. Ling Xiao's gaze was solemn. He had no doubt that the palpitations were caused by the experts from Feng family or Star Palace. It was said that the Feng family had a half-step supreme martial artist in charge, and the Star Palace even had a true supreme martial artist. A true supreme martial artist could tear and travel through the void. They could travel 10,000 miles in an instant, and their speed was extremely fast. If they wanted to chase after Ling Xiao, he wouldn't be able to escape. However, a true supreme martial artist was focused on comprehending the way of heaven. They wanted to see through the mystery of immortality, break through the barrier between man and God and break through to the divine realm. They shouldn't have the time to chase after him. In front is Precious Star City. There should be a void teleportation array in Precious Star City. Ling Xiao's gaze flickered, and he saw that the land ahead was vast and lush. There was a huge city in the middle that was even more magnificent than Stellar Sky City. Ling Xiao had obtained the map of the Grand Star State from Lu Changhe's storage ring. He knew that Precious Star City was one of the famous huge cities in the Grand Star State, and there was a void teleportation array set up there. The distance between states was vast. If Ling Xiao wanted to leave the Grand Star State, even if the void treasure ship could travel 10,000 miles in a day, it would still take a few days to leave. To Ling Xiao, the speed was still too slow. If he were to use the void teleportation array, the speed would be much faster. Precious Star City is controlled by the Star Palace. I hope that the news of Feng Peilong's death hasn't reached the Star Palace yet. Ling Xiao thought to himself. He then kept the void treasure ship and turned into a flowing light as he plunged towards Precious Star City. Precious Star City looked dazzling. The city walls were a few hundred zhang tall. It was like a dormant Archean ferocious beast that gave out a boundless aura. At the city gate, there were many martial artists in silver star armor. They were the star guards of the Star Palace, and they were extremely powerful. According to the requirements of the Star Palace, anyone who wanted to enter Precious Star City had to pay 100 spiritual crystals. 100 spiritual crystals? The Star Palace is really black-hearted. Ling Xiao cursed in his heart. There were more than a few 100,000 people entering and leaving Precious Star City every day. The number of spiritual crystals they collected every day was a terrifying number. Moreover, there were a few huge cities like Precious Star City in the Grand Star State, and they brought in a lot of money for the Star Palace every day. Although Ling Xiao was anxious, he still queued up patiently. After paying 100 spiritual crystals, he entered Precious Star City quickly. What a rich star spiritual energy! After entering Precious Star City, it was as though he had come to another world. The spiritual energy was abundant, and it was more than 10 times more than the outside of the city. If a martial artist could cultivate in Precious Star City for a long time, his cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Ling Xiao nodded his head. After finding someone to ask about the location of the void teleportation formation, he quickly walked towards the center of Precious Star City. In the center of Precious Star City, there was a huge square that took up an area of 10,000 zhang. In the center, there was an ancient formation. There were 9 stone pillars that were filled with ancient intent, and there were many mysterious runes on them. This was the void teleportation formation. However, if one wanted to leave through the void teleportation formation, the price wasn't cheap and it had to be paid with pure yang pills. The void teleportation formation could teleport 9 people at a time, and the fee would be different according to the distance. This was the true treasure of the Star Palace. Ling Xiao could feel that among the guards of the void teleportation formation, there were a total of 3 experts of the Imperial Path. Moreover, there was a terrifying aura in Precious Star City. Although it was obscure, Ling Xiao could feel that it was an expert of half-step to supreme martial artist. There were many people who wanted to take the void teleportation formation. There were many star guards in silver armor guarding the surroundings. All of them had eagle-like eyes, and their gazes were like lightning. They gave out an extremely powerful aura. In the Grand Star State, no one dared to create trouble in the void teleportation formation. When it was Ling Xiao's turn, a disciple of the Star Palace in a white robe looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. It was as though he didn't expect Ling Xiao to be a disciple of the noble realm at such a young age. Where to? Ling Xiao replied calmly, Qinghan City in the Grand Moon State. Chapter 470. 150 Pure Yang Elixirs. The young man in a white robe looked at Ling Xiao and said indifferently. Without hesitation, Ling Xiao took out 150 pure yang elixirs and handed them over. Then he stood on the teleportation formation. The other 8 people who were heading to Qinghan City also walked on the teleportation formation. Activate. The young man in a white robe said slowly. Suddenly, the disciples of Star Palace activated the teleportation formation, and the 9 stone pillars lit up instantly. It was as though there were 9 divine lights that soared into the sky. A mysterious aura enveloped Ling Xiao and the other 8 people. The void started to distort and a mysterious power of the rules of order descended. Ling Xiao knew that it was the rules of space. Only a true supreme expert who was a master of formation could set up a teleportation formation after comprehending the rules of space. Hence, the teleportation formation was rare and precious in the entire War God land. Stop the void teleportation formation. Just then, a cold voice was heard. An elder in a starry robe appeared in the sky above Precious Star City. His eyes were filled with blazing murderous intention. It was the Deacon Elder of Star Palace, He Qingji. His cold gaze seemed to have penetrated the void and landed on Ling Xiao. Shit, it's him. Ling Xiao's gaze changed. The feeling that made his heart palpitate appeared again. And the source was the Deacon of Star Palace. Hong. At this moment, the teleportation portal was completely activated. Once the boundless power of the void was activated, there was no way to reverse it. The void trembled and distorted. Ling Xiao and the other 8 disappeared from the teleportation portal in an instant. Damn it! He Qingji's face was gloomy. In order to chase after Ling Xiao, he had used up one of his secret treasures. His speed had reached the extreme, chasing after Ling Xiao's aura, but he hadn't expected that Ling Xiao would still be one step ahead of him. Greetings, Deacon Elder. When the disciples of Star Palace around the void teleportation formation saw He Qingji, they revealed respectful expressions and bowed to him one after another. Senior, he isn't cultivating in the sect, but has come to Precious Star City? What a rare guest. In Precious Star City, a middle-aged man in star armor flew across the sky. He was the half-sovereign that Ling Xiao had sensed. Junior, I don't have time to chat with you. Just now, a murderer who killed my disciple left through the void teleportation array. Hurry up and activate the array. I want to chase after him. He Qingji glanced at the middle-aged man and said indifferently. Then he directly landed in the void teleportation array. What? He actually dared to kill senior brother He's disciple. Did he eat a bear's heart and leopard's guts? Senior martial brother He, do you need me to go with you? The middle-aged man said with concern. No need, junior brother. You just have to guard Precious Star City properly. He's just an ant. Where does the teleportation array lead to? He Qingji shook his head and refused. The white-robed young man hurriedly said. Elder, I've just been teleported to Qinghan City in the Taiyuan province. Alright, quickly send me to Pure Cold City. He Qingji said coldly. The disciples of Star Palace immediately checked the void teleportation formation, replenished the energy and activated the formation. After 15 minutes, there was a distortion in the void and He Qingji's figure instantly disappeared from the formation. Wang. There was a flash of light and Ling Xiao appeared in Pure Cold City after staying in the formation for an unknown period of time. Clear Cold City seemed to be shrouded in moonlight, controlled by the Moon Palace. Many beautiful women in white armor stood around the array, looking valiant and valiant. They were the Moon Guards, the disciples of the Moon Palace. It was said that the Moon Palace belonged to the Moon's spiritual lineage. Since ancient times, they had only taken in female disciples, and had never taken in male disciples. Hence, the guards of the void teleportation formation were all beautiful women, and it was a feast for the eyes. However, Ling Xiao obviously wasn't in the mood to look at the beauties. After exiting the formation, he quickly left Pure Cold City, and used the secret skill of teleportation to move forward. In the south of Pure Cold City, there was an endless barren mountain range. It was also the border between the Taiyuan province and the Taiyang province. There were even countless Archean variant species and powerful ferocious beasts. The reason why Ling Xiao didn't choose to take the teleportation formation was that there was a queue and the activation time was too slow. He believed that the Elder of Star Palace would definitely chase after him. If he didn't take the teleportation formation and leave by then, he would be like a turtle in a jar. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation, even if he had the soul-destroying needle, sky steel of sun and moon and sky-swallowing sword, it was impossible for him to deal with a half-step to Supreme Master. There are few people in this barren mountain range. It is said that there are some forbidden places that even Supreme Masters don't dare to set foot in. I hope I can get rid of the enemy, Ling Xiao thought to himself with a solemn expression. Being chased by a half-step to Supreme Master was definitely a life-threatening situation for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao used the sky-swallowing secret skill to erase all of his qi. At the same time, he used the secret skill of teleportation to the extreme, and headed towards the depths of the barren mountain range at an extremely fast speed. As expected, not long after Ling Xiao arrived at the barren mountain range, he felt a cold murderous intent emanating from Pure Cold City. It was as though it had locked onto him, and was chasing after him rapidly. Faster, faster. Ling Xiao traversed through the barren mountain range like a ghost. In an instant, he traversed thousands of feet, passing through layers of forests, and heading towards the depths of the barren mountain range. Ling Xiao, how dare you kill my disciple? Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will tear you into pieces. A cold voice was heard. He Chengji stepped into the void, his eyes as cold as knives. Every step he took covered thousands of feet, as though he was teleporting. Soon he was nearing Ling Xiao. Although He Qingji was only a half step to Supreme Master, after so many years, he had comprehended a lot of the law of space. Therefore, his current speed was much faster than that of an ordinary Imperial Path expert. Ling Xiao's secret skill of teleportation was very powerful. If he cultivated it to the Great Completion realm, he could teleport all the realms in the universe. However, Ling Xiao had only comprehended a little bit of it. His speed was much faster than an ordinary Noble Realm expert, and even some Imperial Path experts. However, he was still much slower than He Qingji. He Qingji was less than 100 miles away from Ling Xiao, and he was still rapidly approaching. 50 miles, 30 miles, 20 miles, 10 miles, 1,000 feet. Just as He Qingji was nearing Ling Xiao, killing intent flashed in his eyes, and he suddenly reached out to grab Ling Xiao. Buzz. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. He secretly took out the heavenly star god eye and instantly activated all of its power. A terrifying destructive divine light shot towards He Qingji behind him. What? He Qingji's expression changed greatly. He did not stay in the heavenly star city, and did not have the time to interrogate the people of the Lu clan. He did not know that Ling Xiao had such a powerful weapon, the heavenly star god eye. Chapter 471. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The destructive divine light from the heavenly star divine light contained a power that could destroy everything. It blasted the area around He Qingji into nothingness. The towering ancient trees were reduced to dust, and the huge rocks were shattered. It was as if a hurricane had swept through the area. It was a complete mess. As for He Qingji's starry robe, which was originally a defensive treasure, it was now in tatters. Furthermore, there was a huge hole in He Qingji's chest. His flesh was badly mangled, and he looked extremely miserable. The power in the heavenly star divine eye is still too weak. If I used all my strength, I could definitely kill this old man. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of regret. Now, there was not much destructive divine power left in the heavenly star divine eye. Even if Ling Xiao used all his strength, he could only cause so little damage. Ling Xiao was not satisfied. Ling Xiao glanced at He Qingji, performed a teleportation secret technique, and fled decisively. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. He Qingji's eyes instantly became bloodshot. There was a violent rage in his eyes as if he was about to go berserk. The destructive divine light from the heavenly star divine eye was too terrifying. At that moment, He Qingji felt the threat of death. If the destructive divine light was a little stronger, He Qingji would definitely be dead. Even so, He Qingji's supreme grade Dao tool, Star Robe, was completely shattered. Moreover, his internal organs were also destroyed, causing him to suffer heavy injuries. If it were not for He Qingji's tenacious vitality, he would have been completely destroyed. Boom. He Qingji burned his life essence and activated the vitality contained in his body. His flesh and blood were constantly wriggling. A powerful vitality spread out and began to repair his damaged body. He Qingji hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. At the same time, he was also full of fear. He moved and chased after Ling Xiao. However, he did not dare to go too fast for fear that Ling Xiao would have a powerful backup plan. Boom. He Qingji launched a palm strike in the air. The terrifying palm strike stirred the sky. Ling Xiao's scalp went numb. He suddenly leaped forward, and the mountain behind him turned into dust. The terrifying divine light shot over, leaving behind a bloody scar on Ling Xiao's back. Old bastard, sooner or later, I'll kill you. Ling Xiao's gaze was extremely cold, but he did not stop at all. He continued to use his secret technique, and flew towards the depths of the mountain. Boom, boom, boom. He Qingji stood in the air, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. He was incomparably cruel as he continued to attack Ling Xiao from afar with powerful divine abilities. One mountain after another was shattered, and countless towering ancient trees were reduced to dust. Cracks appeared on the ground, and although Ling Xiao tried his best to dodge, he was still affected by the shockwaves and began to suffer injuries. Even though half-supremes weren't like supremes who could dominate the laws of heaven and earth, they still possessed some of the might of supremes. It was something that emperors couldn't compare to. A casual strike from He Qingji was not what Ling Xiao could withstand, and this was after He Qingji had already been severely injured by Ling Xiao. If he was an uninjured half-step supreme being, Ling Xiao would not have been able to last more than a few moves. Bang! Ling Xiao was sent flying again. Even though his physical body was extremely strong, his cultivation was still too weak. He was 2 realms away from He Qingji, and there were more than a dozen small realms between him and He Qingji. Even if Ling Xiao possessed heaven-defying martial arts, he could only sullenly flee. Ling Xiao spat out blood, and his face turned extremely pale. His internal organs were severely injured, and he was running for his life while being chased. Ling Xiao was about to reach his limit. Run? Let's see where you can run to. Little bastard, you dare to kill my disciple. Let's see who can save you today. He Qingji's gaze was cold, and it was filled with mockery and cruelty. At the same time, he was amazed at Ling Xiao's tenacious vitality. A mere LV1 noble realm brat was still alive under his continuous attacks, and even had the strength to run for his life. Ling Xiao did not say a word, and his gaze was extremely cold. At the same time, he was preparing a peerless attack in his heart. If I combine the great soul-destroying skill with the soul-destroying needle, in addition to the power of the wordless heavenly book and the essence of my primordial spirit, I might be able to severely injure this old bastard. Ling Xiao thought to himself. The great soul-destroying skill was extraordinary, and the soul-destroying needle was a treasure. Ling Xiao had tried it before, and if he burned his primordial spirit, he would be able to unleash the terrifying power of the great soul-destroying skill and the soul-destroying needle with the help of the wordless heavenly book. However, Ling Xiao would also be severely injured. In this dangerous barbaric mountain range, even if he killed He Qingji, he would probably fall into a coma. He might even be eaten by the demons. I have no choice. I can only fight. Ling Xiao's eyes shone with a sharp light, and he was preparing a peerless attack. Ling Xiao and He Qingji had gone deep into the barbaric mountain range. Even though Ling Xiao had the map of the Taiyin continent, he did not know where he was. He was surrounded by towering mountains, which were vast and majestic. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and there were powerful roars of beasts and monstrous demonic qi. In front of him was a valley filled with fog. It looked vast and boundless, and it was filled with a mysterious fluctuation. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he rushed into the foggy valley. Buzz! The mist looked very ethereal, and it emitted a cold and gloomy aura. It was as if it was the aura of death that came from the depths of hell, making Ling Xiao feel very uncomfortable. Boom! When He Qingji saw Ling Xiao rushing into the foggy valley below, he slapped again. The monstrous palm print contained an unparalleled sharpness, and he wanted to break through the valley and force Ling Xiao out. However, when the palm print came into contact with the fog, it instantly shattered, as if it had hit an incomparably mysterious space. The white fog was ethereal, and it was not affected at all. What? He Qingji's eyes flashed, and he also felt a very mysterious qi. Boom! At this moment, the terrifying white fog rose, and suddenly covered He Qingji, who was in mid-air. The white fog was boundless, and he could not tell where he was at this moment. He Qingji's face instantly turned serious, and he felt a fluctuation that made his scalp tingle. Ling Xiao was in front of him, but he did not chase after Ling Xiao. Instead, he looked into the distance vigilantly. Dong! 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 It was as if a giant hammer was beating the sky. A huge drum sound came from afar, and it was filled with ancient, desolate, and mysterious fluctuations that made one's blood boil. Chapter 472. Could it be? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as if he had thought of something. As the footsteps got closer, Ling Xiao saw a group of soldiers in tattered armor walking out of the white fog with spears in their hands. Their steps were slow and orderly, with a strange rhythm. The armor was broken, and the spears were filled with a deathly aura. The bodies of the soldiers were formed by black fog, and there were 2 balls of ghostly fire flickering in their eye sockets. Even though Ling Xiao was now a LV1 Noble Realm expert, he still felt a chill run down his spine when he saw these soldiers. It was an unimaginable horror. Soldiers of the dead passing by, dragons and phoenixes pulling coffins? Ling Xiao's eyes were full of solemnity. He had once seen a group of Yin soldiers traversing through a strange white fog in the 8 Desolates region. Furthermore, there was a huge bone dragon and bone phoenix pulling a huge bronze coffin. Boom. The earth trembled and the sky trembled. An ancient and desolate aura filled the air. Among the endless army of undead, 1,000-foot-long bone dragon and 1,000-foot-long bone phoenix pulled a giant bronze coffin and slowly approached. Just like the bone phoenix, the bone dragon and bone phoenix were completely black. They looked like black divine jade, white and flawless, and exuded an ancient and desolate aura. The aura seemed to have come from ancient times, and it exuded a power that made one's heart tremble. It was exactly the same as what Ling Xiao had seen in the Beast Mountain. But why were the soldiers of the Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix on the War God continent? Ling Xiao's heart was filled with doubts. Could it be that there's also a Bronze Divine Palace here? A sharp glint flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes. He slowly followed behind the Yin soldier and walked forward. He Qingji was also shocked by the scene before him. The endless soldiers of the dead all exuded a terrifying aura, especially the Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix in the center. He could not help but kneel down and worship them. Although He Qingji was half a step away from being a supreme being, he had never seen such a terrifying scene before. Although He Qingji wanted to kill Ling Xiao right now, he vaguely felt that if he dared to make a move here, he would probably die without a burial place. The Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix, such a terrifying aura far surpasses that of a supreme being. Could they have been gods when they were alive? Who is in the bronze coffin? He Qingji did not dare to think about it anymore. He felt as if he had stumbled upon an earth-shattering secret. Let's follow them and see. He Qingji clenched his teeth. Although he felt the danger, he was unwilling to let Ling Xiao go just like that. He was also unwilling to miss such a great opportunity. Therefore, he hung at the back of the group and slowly walked forward. Ling Xiao glanced at He Qingji indifferently, his eyes filled with mockery. Rumble. The Yin soldiers escorted the bronze coffin as they slowly advanced forward. The surrounding white mist was thick and dense, like the mist of primal chaos. It was filled with a mysterious and vast power. Ling Xiao could feel that the wordless heavenly book in his sea of consciousness was emitting a faint glow. There was a wave of joy and nostalgia spreading out. It seems like the wordless heavenly book has some mysterious connection with the existence inside the bronze coffin. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he recalled his encounter in the 8 Desolates region. Could it be that there was another bronze divine palace in front of them? Boom. The mist became thicker and thicker. They could no longer see their surroundings clearly. After walking for an unknown period of time, the scene before them suddenly opened up. A bronze divine palace stood in the midst of the primal chaos. It was overflowing with dazzling divine light, like an immortal ancient sacred mountain, exuding a majestic aura. The entire body of the bronze divine palace was made of green divine gold. It looked perfect and flawless, exuding dazzling green divine light. Moreover, there were many mysterious runes that intertwined, as if they were describing the truth of heaven and earth. Could it be that there really is the inheritance of a deity here? He Qingji, who was at the back of the group, was also completely shocked. His eyes were burning with passion. This bronze divine palace was not something that could be made by humans. The aura it gave off made even a prime tremble, and want to kneel down and worship it. It was definitely a miracle. Boom. When the Yin soldiers slowly walked to the front of the bronze divine palace, the 2 bronze doors suddenly opened. Endless primal chaos filled the air as all the Yin soldiers slowly walked into the divine palace. The Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix pulled the huge bronze coffin and stopped outside the divine palace. Rumble. The bronze divine palace slowly glowed. A blazing divine rainbow streaked across the sky and shone on the bronze coffin, enveloping the bone dragon and bone phoenix. In the primal chaos, lightning flashed. It was mysterious and vast. The runes on the bronze coffin seemed to have been activated in an instant. Runes filled the air like divine chains. The bronze coffin slowly opened, and a divine light shot into the sky, illuminating the endless void. Ling Xiao used his mental strength to control the wordless heavenly book, preventing it from going berserk. He was afraid that the wordless heavenly book would attract the attention of the bronze coffin again. Ling Xiao knew that the wordless heavenly book attracting the attention of the bronze coffin would not bring any harm. In fact, it might even give Ling Xiao a chance. However, Ling Xiao just wanted to see what was inside the bronze coffin. The divine light was dazzling. Ling Xiao glanced at He Qingji behind him and walked towards the bronze coffin. A terrifying aura filled the air. It was like a supreme deity that had created the world. It was noble, mysterious, and ancient. One could not help but want to kneel down and worship it. Ling Xiao forcefully suppressed that impulse and slowly walked towards the bronze coffin. Is this brat courting death? But it's good to let him scout the way first. He Qingji's eyes flashed. Everything here was beyond his imagination. He did not dare to act rashly. However, Ling Xiao walked towards the bronze coffin. He Qingji made up his mind. If there was no danger after Ling Xiao went over, he would immediately kill Ling Xiao. Rumble. The closer he got to the bronze coffin, the more terrifying the power was. It directly affected his soul. If it were not for the wordless heavenly book protecting Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, he would not have been able to reach the bronze coffin. Ling Xiao finally stood in front of the bronze coffin. He took a deep breath and looked inside the bronze coffin. What? When Ling Xiao saw what was inside the bronze coffin, his body trembled. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. There was another coffin inside the bronze coffin. It was a black coffin, exactly the same as the one Ling Xiao saw on the underworld ship. Furthermore, the black coffin was opened as well. Countless runes filled the air, and the galaxy was boundless. Within the boundless primordial chaos, a terrifying figure could be seen lying there. It was like a supreme emperor that controlled the myriad of worlds. Its face was exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. Chapter 473. This black coffin was too demonic. If Ling Xiao had not experienced it once and knew that everything before him was just an illusion, he would have thought that it was real. The 81 ancient words that he saw in the black coffin suddenly appeared in Ling Xiao's mind. The mysterious aura intertwined, and the scene before him changed. The black coffin was still the black coffin, but the terrifying figure inside was gone. What is real and what is fake? Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. The black coffin in front of him was filled with chaotic aura, as if it contained a world. At this moment, Ling Xiao was even a little confused. Was there a supreme existence's corpse in the black coffin? Why was the black coffin in the bronze coffin? Coffin. Ling Xiao suddenly thought of two words. When the ancient ancestors buried the gods, the coffin was used to hold the corpse, and the coffin was used as the outer coffin. In other words, the bronze coffin was actually the outer coffin, and the black coffin was the actual coffin that held the corpse. However, Ling Xiao could not see any corpse at all. Boom. At this moment, Ling Xiao felt an air-piercing sound, and a chilling murderous intent came from behind his head. Ling Xiao's figure flashed and he dodged in an instant. He Qingji made a move, and his palm missed. However, he did not release the palm energy and did not land on the bronze coffin. Obviously, He Qingji also knew that the bronze coffin was important. Although he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he did not dare to disturb everything here. Old thing, you will die without a doubt. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of murderous intent as he stared at He Qingji. Little bastard, are you familiar with this place? Tell me the secret here, and I can let you live. Otherwise, you will die without a doubt. He Qingji's eyes were filled with greed and murderous intent. Everything here was beyond his imagination, and it made He Qingji faintly feel that there must be a great opportunity here. Perhaps it was the legendary place of inheritance of a powerful god. However, Ling Xiao looked very calm. Since he could casually come in front of the bronze coffin, he must know something. Even if I know, so what? Why should I tell you? I can only tell you one thing. and that is you are dead." Ling Xiao smiled coldly, and his eyes revealed a trace of icy sharpness. "Little bastard, since you don't know the difference between life and death, this old man will kill you and search your soul. Then, I will naturally know the secret of this place." He Qingji's eyes were cold, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. He wanted to attack Ling Xiao. A hint of mockery appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. He immediately released the seal on the wordless heavenly book. Immediately, the wordless heavenly book's aura filled the air. Boom. After the bronze coffin felt the presence of the wordless heavenly book, it immediately emitted a blazing light and flew towards the bronze temple. "Little bastard, you really do know the secret of this place." He Qingji's eyes lit up. He leaped up and rushed toward the bronze temple. Rumble. After Ling Xiao flew into the bronze temple, the huge bronze door instantly closed. Just as He Qingji was about to enter, the runes on the bronze palace lit up, and a terrifying lightning bolt shot towards He Qingji. Not good. He Qingji's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. However, the lightning bolt was extremely terrifying. It instantly pierced through his chest, and turned half of his body into ashes. The terrifying lightning bolt was like a heavenly tribulation, and it made He Qingji's scalp tingle. He immediately retreated from the bronze temple's range, and the lightning bolt gradually dimmed. Just a single lightning bolt was enough to severely injure a half-step supreme being. If all those lightning bolts were to explode, even a true supreme being would be blasted to smithereens. Fortunately, He Qingji retreated quickly, and he managed to keep his life. "Little bastard, I will wait for you here. I don't believe that you won't come out forever." Cough cough. He Qingji hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent, and his face was extremely pale. He kept coughing out blood. The injury this time was even more terrifying than the destructive power of Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes. It almost killed him completely. He Qingji didn't dare to continue into the bronze temple. He could only sit cross-legged outside, healing his injuries while waiting. In the bronze temple, Ling Xiao seemed to have come to a world of stars. There were huge stars revolving around him, and it was as though there was an endless world. Chaotic fog filled the air, and the surroundings were silent. There was only a sun in front of him that was emitting blazing light, and it looked extremely mysterious. However, the sun was swallowing the essence of heaven and earth, and it was flickering. It was as though there was a mysterious fluctuation being emitted, causing the surrounding stars to tremble. What is this place? Ling Xiao's expression changed. He originally thought that the bronze temple would be filled with endless extraterrestrial demons, and that killing the extraterrestrial demons would allow him to obtain powerful divine souls. However, he didn't expect that the bronze temple would be filled with a different scene. Could it be that the scene in every bronze temple is different? Ling Xiao thought to himself. It was too quiet here. There was only the surrounding stars, and the mysterious sun in front of him. Ling Xiao's gaze moved. When he focused on the sun, he realized that there was a figure in the sun. It was formed by the essence of fire, and it was shrouded in gorgeous flames. It looked exactly like Ling Xiao. Roar! A majestic dragon roar filled the air, and the figure walked out from the sun. There was a powerful dragon aura around him, and he was like an ancient true dragon. His physical body was extremely terrifying. It was another Ling Xiao. Boom! That Ling Xiao's eyes were extremely cold and filled with killing intent. Without saying a word, he clenched his fist and charged towards Ling Xiao. Is this sun a replica of another me? Ling Xiao felt that this place was even more mysterious, but he didn't dare to be careless. He charged towards the other Ling Xiao. Rumble! The two figures collided violently, and a terrifying aura filled the air, causing the surrounding stars to tremble. Ling Xiao was sent flying almost instantly. The Ling Xiao in front of him exploded with the Dragon Burst superpower, and golden light shone around him. It was as though he had transformed into an ancient true dragon. His physical body was invincible, and he punched through Ling Xiao's physical body, causing him to explode. It was too brutal. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and Ling Xiao felt that even his primordial spirit had exploded into a bloody mist. Buzz! Just as Ling Xiao felt that he had died just like that, The blood mist condensed in the void and reformed his body once again. A mysterious fluctuation flickered in Ling Xiao's heart. It was as though Ling Xiao had completely comprehended the previous punch. In this battle of life and death, Ling Xiao's understanding of the secret skills of the ancestor dragon improved by leaps and bounds. There is great terror in life and death, but there is also great fortune. Is this the fortune of the Bronze Temple? Chapter 474. Rumble. Although Ling Xiao's clone was also at the first level of the noble realm like Ling Xiao, he was able to unleash his maximum physical strength. His fist radiance was unparalleled, and when he punched, the world would tremble. He was like a primordial dragon with unparalleled power. Compared to his clone, Ling Xiao felt that although he had cultivated the ancestral dragon secret skill to the flying dragon body, he had only scratched the surface of this secret skill. He was far from mastering the essence of this secret skill. Ling Xiao did not know how many times he had died under his clone's fist. Although he could quickly revive every time he was killed, the feeling of death was so real. In such a life and death battle, Ling Xiao's comprehension of the ancestral dragon secret skill improved rapidly. On the first day, the clone could kill Ling Xiao with one punch. Ling Xiao had died thousands of times. On the 10th day, the clone needed 3 punches to kill Ling Xiao. On the 30th punch, Ling Xiao could already withstand 10 moves from the clone. On the 100th day, Ling Xiao could withstand 50 moves. Although he was still at a disadvantage, he could still survive. Just like that, Ling Xiao did not know how many days, months, or even years had passed. Ling Xiao seemed to be tireless as he fought with his clone. His battle intent soared and he fought fiercely in this world of stars. Rumble. One day Ling Xiao soared into the sky. Chaotic qi seemed to pervade his body. He punched out with his soul, and the endless stars in Zhou Tian dimmed at this moment. All the starlight gathered on Ling Xiao's fist like a storm. It was as if he had broken through some limit of power and punched at the clone. This time, the clone did not resist at all, and was directly killed by Ling Xiao. Buzz. Ling Xiao felt that his comprehension of the ancestral dragon secret skill had reached an extreme. He had comprehended all the mysteries of the ancestral dragon secret skill. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, there seemed to be an unparalleled ancestral dragon that was billions of miles long and exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. This time, the violent dragon superpower that Ling Xiao had comprehended was completely perfected. It turned into a bright star and integrated into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Berserk Dragon Divine Ability. So this is the true Berserk Dragon Divine Ability. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a faint look of joy. It turned out that the true Berserk Dragon mystique was not purely about increasing one's battle prowess. More importantly, it was about elevating one's level of life, allowing one to unleash all sorts of unbelievable powers in an instant. The so-called power of miracles was included in the Violent Dragon God art. The Violent Dragon superpower is the second superpower that I have comprehended. Now I can break through to the second level of the noble realm. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with excitement. This divine bronze palace was truly a place that could seize the fortune of heaven and earth. It contained endless mysteries. Although Ling Xiao had spent a long time to fully understand the Berserk Dragon God power, Ling Xiao knew that it was because of the fear between life and death. If he had relied on his own cultivation, it would have taken him hundreds of years to fully understand the Berserk Dragon God power. The secret technique of the ancestral dragon was all-encompassing, and what Ling Xiao comprehended from it was the Berserk Dragon Divine Ability. It was Ling Xiao's Violent Dragon Theurgy. Perhaps I'll be able to comprehend all the divine abilities to the extreme here. A look of understanding flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes. He activated the sky-devouring secret skill, and looked at the mysterious sun in front of him. Boom! The sun emitted an endless amount of brilliant light. Auspicious qi surged and spiritual essence swirled around. A replica of Ling Xiao walked out from the sun. The only difference was that this replica represented the ultimate state of the sky-devouring secret skill. Boom! Almost at the same instant when the clone appeared, it was as if there was an overflowing flame in its eyes. A terrifying flame that could engulf the heavens and devour the earth instantly engulfed Ling Xiao and burned him to ashes. This was the power of the sky-devouring fire. It represented the ultimate sky-devouring fire, the feeling of being burned by the fire, and having one's spiritual soul destroyed was too real and painful. Many times Ling Xiao thought that he was really dead. However, every time Ling Xiao died he would quickly revive and then fight with his clone. However, the power of the sky-devouring fire was too terrifying. Until the 100th day, Ling Xiao did not know how many times he had died before he could barely withstand the sky-devouring fire. A year later, Ling Xiao's jade-like skin emitted a mysterious luster, as if there were runes everywhere. Only then could he barely survive the burning of the sky-devouring fire. Just like that, Ling Xiao used a full 10 years to comprehend the wonders of the sky-devouring fire and completely destroy the replica. The third supreme superpower, sky-devouring fire. Next was the secret skill of teleportation and the secret skill of true phoenix. Ling Xiao used 5 years to kill the replica of the secret skill of teleportation, and comprehended the teleportation superpower from the secret skill of teleportation. Ling Xiao used more than 10 years to kill the replica of the secret skill of true phoenix, and comprehended the nirvana superpower. The 7 limits divine skill of devouring heaven and earth had 7 styles. In fact, each style was a supreme superpower, and represented the ultimate martial arts that Ling Xiao had comprehended in his previous life. Now Ling Xiao had already cultivated the 4 elements sky striking style, 5 elements sealing style, and 6 paths of reincarnation style. Ling Xiao comprehended these 3 supreme superpowers very quickly. After all, they were created by Ling Xiao himself. He only used a few days to completely comprehend the 3 supreme superpowers. Finally, there was the reincarnation superpower that Ling Xiao obtained from Pangachu. The reincarnation superpower was incomparably mysterious, and contained the mystery of life and death. The replica that came out from the sun had terrifying strength. The number of times Ling Xiao was killed by the reincarnation superpower was more than the number of times he was killed by all the previous superpowers. It took Ling Xiao more than 100 years to comprehend the reincarnation mystique. After dying countless times, he finally managed to comprehend this mystique. Great Soul Destruction Technique, Violent Dragon Divine Skill, Sky-Devouring Fire, Greater Teleportation Superpower, Nirvana Superpower, 4 Elephant Sky Striking Style, 5 Elements Sealing Style, 6 Paths of Reincarnation Style, and Reincarnation Superpower. After these 9 supreme superpowers were comprehended by Ling Xiao, the galaxy in Zhoutian seemed to dim, and the sun in front of him seemed to have been drained of its power, and became incomparably weak. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged at the center of the river of stars. There was a mysterious ring behind his head, and there were 9 dazzling stars revolving around it. Divine light surged, and talisman markings were resplendent, causing Ling Xiao to seem extremely mysterious. He was like an extraordinary god that caused others to be unable to help but prostrate themselves in worship. What a pity! Ling Xiao sighed. After nearly 200 years of cultivation, Ling Xiao finally understood that the sun and the endless stars in front of him were the source of his continuous resurrection, his continuous life and death experiences, and his continuous comprehension of the supreme superpower. After Ling Xiao comprehended the 9 great supreme divine abilities, all the energy was finally completely exhausted. At this moment, Ling Xiao possessed the 9 supreme superpowers and had experienced countless life and death experiences. There was a trace of vicissitudes in his eyes as if he had seen through life and death. As long as he had enough energy, Ling Xiao could quickly break through to the 9th level of the noble realm. With this land of fortune, it took me nearly 200 years to cultivate the 9 supreme superpowers. If I were to cultivate by myself, I'm afraid even 1,000 years wouldn't be enough to complete the 9 supreme superpowers. Ling Xiao sighed softly. Then 2 beams of bright divine light shot out from his eyes. It was like the absolute beginning divine light that could split the heavens and earth apart, destroying everything in its path. Chapter 475. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to spend 200 years in the Divine Bronze Palace to cultivate the 9 supreme superpowers was because he could feel that the flow of time in the Divine Bronze Palace was a few hundred times faster than the outside world. In other words, Ling Xiao spent 200 years in the Divine Bronze Palace, but only a few months had passed in the outside world. However, in these 200 years, Ling Xiao had forged a supreme Taoist foundation and 9 supreme supernatural powers. Each of them was an earth-shattering supreme technique. Ling Xiao's martial arts foundation had become extremely solid. Although he was still at the first level of the noble realm, as long as he had enough pure yang pills, he could quickly break through to the 9th level of the noble realm. With the 9 supreme superpowers, as long as I don't encounter those peerless geniuses in the noble realm, I'll be unstoppable. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of a sigh. Although the 9 transcendent supernatural powers seemed very strong, this was something that Ling Xiao had comprehended with his own strength. There were many peerless geniuses of martial arts holy lands that were born with a golden spoon in their bodies. When the sect's senior masters died, they would extract the transcendent supernatural power lost stars from their bodies and fuse them into their bodies. Therefore, many peerless geniuses were able to cultivate countless powerful superpowers when they were in the noble realm, but they didn't necessarily cultivate them themselves. Buzz. Just as the Milky Way was about to be destroyed, the golden body of the primordial spirit in Ling Xiao's mind seemed to have broken through a bottleneck and instantly began to expand. The golden body of the primordial spirit, which was originally 16 feet tall, grew to 99 feet tall before it gradually quieted down. The golden body of the primordial spirit sat cross-legged in a dazzling Milky Way world. It was surrounded by 9 stars of laws and looked extremely mysterious. The power of the primordial spirit has finally broken through to the monarch realm. Breaking through to the primordial spirit is much more difficult than breaking through to the next level. Ling Xiao's face was filled with faint joy. After his primordial spirit broke through to the next level, Ling Xiao felt that the world was different again. It was as if there were many colorful lines of laws in the world, which looked extremely mysterious. It was as if gently moving those lines of laws could give Ling Xiao terrifying power. It's a pity that the energy in the Divine Bronze Palace is still too little. Otherwise, if I could successfully cultivate the cosmic eyes, I would be able to condense the 10th supreme superpower. There was a trace of pity in Ling Xiao's eyes, but he was already very satisfied. This bronze divine hall was simply a place of fortune. The supreme divine abilities condensed from life and death seemed to have fused with Ling Xiao's blood and bones, allowing him to unleash unparalleled power with his attacks. They also contain the secrets of time. 1. As if it had sensed Ling Xiao's intentions, countless rays of bright starlight, containing an incomparably vast amount of star power, instantly fused into the heavenly star god Eye, causing the energy in the heavenly star god Eye to become incomparably abundant in an instant. The heavenly star godly eyes emitted a silver glow, like the eyes of the heavenly Tao, indifferent and cold, containing a biting cold murderous intent. Haha. With the power of the heavenly star god eyes, I want to see where that old bastard can escape to this time. Ling Xiao laughed loudly. The light around him changed, and the chaotic qi lingered. The Milky Way world disappeared, and Ling Xiao was sent out of the Bronze Palace. Outside the Bronze Palace, He Qingji was about to go crazy. 4 to 5 months had passed, but there was no movement from Ling Xiao after he entered the Bronze Palace. He Qingji had thought of giving up a few times, but in the end he persevered. Everything in front of him was too mysterious. It made He Qingji firmly believe that there was definitely the inheritance of a supreme god. He had always believed that Ling Xiao would definitely come out. As long as he killed Ling Xiao and snatched the inheritance, it wouldn't be impossible for He Qingji to become the master of Star Palace in the future. For the past 4 to 5 months, although He Qingji had been recuperating, the Bronze Palace had caused too much damage to him. Half of his body had been shattered, and his life essence had been greatly damaged. After such a long time, he had only recovered 50% of his power. If he wanted to fully recover his cultivation, he would need another year and a half. Hence, He Qingji hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. 1. Just then, the Bronze Palace gave out a bright glow, enveloping Ling Xiao as he appeared outside the hall. Ling Xiao, you finally decided to come out? He Qingji's eyes instantly turned red, and his face was filled with ferocious killing intent. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect He Qingji to still be here. Such a shocking bronze palace must be very attractive to He Qingji. Old man, you haven't left yet? Are you courting death? A sharp glint flashed across Ling Zhao's eyes as his lips curled into a cold smile. He Qingji's eyes flashed. He suddenly realized that Ling Xiao was different. Although he was still at LV1 of the noble realm, he had an additional dangerous and vicissitude aura. As if he had lived through countless years. The sharpness in Ling Zhao's eyes sent chills down He Qingji's spine. Sharp-tongued bastard. You're only at LV1 of the noble realm. So what if you have some inheritance? If you know what's good for you, give it to me and I can spare your life. Although He Qingji was shocked, he was even more excited. He firmly believed that Ling Xiao must have received the supreme inheritance. I did receive the supreme inheritance, and it's the inheritance of a supreme god. Do you want it? I'll give it to you. Ling Zhao's lips curled into a cold smile. He suddenly took out the heavenly star god eye and shone it at He Qingji. What? He Qingji was so frightened that his expression changed. He flashed and instantly moved dozens of feet away. However, he realized that the heavenly star god eye didn't move at all. He immediately knew that he had been tricked by Ling Xiao. Bastard, you dare to trick me? Your treasure's energy has already been used up. Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, don't blame me for being rude. He Qingji's eyes flashed with killing intent as he slammed his palm down at Ling Xiao. He didn't know if Ling Xiao did it on purpose or not, but he had already left the area covered by the bronze palace. This gave He Qingji a good opportunity. As long as he severely injured Ling Xiao and captured him, he would have no choice but to do what he wanted. However, there was no trace of panic on Ling Zhao's face. He was calm and indifferent, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. When He Qingji was about to get close to Ling Xiao, a terrifying and boundless force exploded. Not good. He Qingji's expression changed greatly. The heavenly star god eye that seemed to have run out of energy actually shot out a terrifying ray of divine light of destruction towards He Qingji's head. Didn't the heavenly star god eye already run out of energy? How could it still unleash such a terrifying force? No matter how He Qingji thought about it, he couldn't understand. He Qingji only had time to move his body up a few feet, and the divine light of destruction instantly exploded. Below He Qingji's chest, it instantly turned into nothingness. Blood didn't seem to have time to flow out, and the wound was incomparably smooth. After a long time, He Qingji felt the intense pain and couldn't help but scream. Instantly, blood spurted out, and his flesh was badly mangled. He looked very miserable. Boom. Ling Zhao's gaze was incomparably cold. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he retracted the heavenly star god eye and directly punched out. Chapter 476. Boom. After the battle of life and death in the divine bronze palace, Ling Zhao's physical strength was the same as before, but the power he unleashed was more than 10 times or even 100 times stronger than before. He Qingji's head exploded in an instant, along with his remaining flesh and blood. He turned into a bloody mist in the void. Little bastard, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Amidst the bloody mist, a black shadow soared into the sky. It looked extremely illusory. It was He Qingji's martial Tao primordial spirit. At this moment, its eyes were filled with rage and hatred. It was completely deranged. He had never thought that Ling Xiao would destroy his physical body in one strike, leaving only his primordial spirit behind. Kill me? I'm afraid you're the one who's going to die. Ling Xiao sneered, but he did not hesitate at all. He struck out with his palm and black divine light gushed out. It seemed to have turned into strands of black runes. It carried the power of a storm that could destroy one's spiritual soul as it struck towards He Qingji. Moreover, in Ling Zhao's palm, there was an undetectable needle light hidden in it. It struck towards He Qingji's primordial spirit. Great soul-destroying skill. Soul-destroying needle. Soul-destroying thousand stars kill. He Qingji roared angrily. His eyes were filled with viciousness. His primordial spirit gave off a dazzling light. The countless apertures on his body were like huge stars, shooting out sharp sword auras. A void storm, which contained a monstrous killing power, rushed toward Ling Xiao. He Qingji went completely berserk. With the thought of perishing together, He used the primordial spirit forbidden skill. Even if he died, he would kill Ling Xiao. Boom. The great soul-destroying skill struck He Qingji's primordial spirit. A destructive power spread out, causing He Qingji's primordial spirit to dim instantly. At the same time, the soul-destroying needle also entered He Qingji's primordial spirit. The deathly aura exploded, wanting to kill He Qingji completely. He Qingji did not dodge. He took the power of the great soul-destroying skill and the soul-destroying needle. After all, his primordial spirit was extremely powerful. It was close to the power of a sovereign, but it was not destroyed instantly. He Qingji charged towards Ling Xiao. The storm of his primordial spirit completely erupted, wanting to tear Ling Xiao to pieces. Wang. As if it felt threatened, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness emitted a mysterious light and flew out. The gentle light fell down like tassels, and that terrifying primordial spirit storm actually vanished into nothingness instantly. No. He Qingji's voice was filled with monstrous resentment and unwillingness. The power of the great soul-destroying technique and the soul-destroying needle burst out in an instant, and his primordial spirit instantly exploded into nothingness. Rumble. The heaven and earth trembled as if there was a great earthquake. The primordial spirit of a half-step supreme being exploded. That unparalleled power swept out in all directions, scattering large amounts of primordial mist. This is a huge loss. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. Not only did He Qingji's storage ring explode, even his primordial spirit was completely destroyed. Ling Xiao was still eyeing the divine ability stars in He Qingji's primordial spirit. Now he didn't get anything. As the elder of Star Palace, He Qingji was a peerless expert who was half a step away from being a supreme martial artist. In his primordial spirit, there must be countless powerful superpowers. If he could devour it for his own use, it would be a great opportunity for Ling Xiao. Rumble. Just then, the divine bronze palace suddenly trembled. A blazing divine light soared into the sky, shaking the primordial void. The bronze door opened instantly, and countless ghost soldiers walked out of the divine bronze palace in an orderly manner. Virum. The huge bronze coffin slowly closed, and the bone dragon and bone phoenix gave out an ancient and mysterious aura. They pulled the huge bronze coffin, and under the escort of the ghost soldiers, they headed towards the depths of the primordial chaos. Ling Xiao wanted to follow and take a look. However, he could feel that there was a terrifying power in the depths of the primordial chaos, which made him feel a threat to his life. Rumble. The primordial mist became thicker, and the divine bronze palace in front of him started to be shrouded, gradually becoming blurry. The surrounding white mist was faintly discernible, and Ling Xiao realized that he had appeared in a very ordinary valley. Where is this? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The surrounding environment was unfamiliar, and in front of him were towering sacred mountains, which were vast and majestic, giving out a desolate aura. After leaving the divine bronze palace, Ling Xiao seemed to have been transported to a faraway place. That is, Ling Xiao suddenly saw that in front of him, between a few mountains, there was a dazzling glow. Although it looked weak, there was a mysterious fluctuation. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he flew into the distance. In a mysterious space, countless sacred mountains were suspended in the air, and they were ancient and mysterious. Large stars circled around them, emitting dazzling starlight, making this place extremely mysterious. On many of the sacred mountains, towering ancient trees stood tall, and there were many old vines and spiritual herbs. It was like a sacred land, bathing in the starlight. On the most central suspended sacred mountain, which was like the center of the galaxy, surrounded by endless starlight, sat a young man in white. The young man looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, and he had a delicate face. However, there was a fluctuation of time around him. Every time he breathed in the essence of heaven and earth, the surrounding stars would flicker. His body seemed to contain a power that could make heaven and earth tremble. A middle-aged man in a silver starry robe slowly came before the old man, and he knelt down respectfully. Sect Master, Deacon Elder He Qingji is dead, and his soul has been scattered. The young man in white slowly opened his eyes, and there seemed to be an endless starry sky that was filled with vicissitudes and mysteries. He Qingji. The young man in white's voice was very calm, and there was a kind of indifference that did not care about anything. Buzz. There seemed to be a mysterious vortex flowing in his eyes, and he looked into the depths of the endless mountains. He saw He Qingji chasing after Ling Xiao, saw Ling Xiao enter the valley, saw the white fog, and saw the chaos. However, he was blocked by a mysterious force, and he could not see what was inside. Could it be that it is about to be born? It seems that the war is not far away. The young man in white's eyes rippled as he said slowly. After a while, an indifferent voice sounded. Let the Purple Star, North Star, 7 Kills, Army Destroyer, and Voracious Wolf Star come out. It is time for them to train. At the same time, find out the cause of He Qingji's death. If you meet this young man, just kill him. A bright light flashed, and Ling Xiao's lifelike image appeared in the void. Yes. The middle-aged man respectfully took Ling Xiao's image and slowly retreated down the sacred mountain. In the era of great battles, the secrets of heaven have been revealed. In this era, I must step into the immortal realm. Chapter 477. This is? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. When he crossed a few mountains and arrived at the place where the divine light was surging, he realized that there was a mysterious small mountain in front of him. It was emitting a 5-colored light, as if it was the place where the gods descended. Countless auspicious vapors rose from it. This was a 5-colored sacred mountain. The surroundings were extremely quiet. When Ling Xiao walked towards the 5-colored sacred mountain, he could even hear his own heartbeat clearly. It was as if all the sounds in the outside world had disappeared. Ling Xiao walked forward slowly. The 5-colored sacred mountain seemed to be growing bigger and bigger. In the end, it connected the heavens and the earth like a heavenly pillar. It was extremely terrifying. It's not the 5-colored sacred mountain that's growing bigger. It's the power of space. The 5-colored sacred mountain was originally hidden in an unknown space-time. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with understanding. He felt that the aura of the surrounding void seemed to have changed. Buzz. The surrounding clouds were ethereal and emitted 5-colored light. There were exotic flowers and herbs on the sacred mountain that emitted a fragrant aura. A white jade staircase appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It meandered upwards like 9 layers of clouds. The destination was the end of the 5-colored sacred mountain. Rumble. It was as if there was a terrifying aura that caused Ling Xiao's body to tremble. It was as if there was an inexplicable power of law that suppressed everything. It was terrifying. Ling Xiao's body trembled, as if he was about to be forced to kneel down. Moreover, there seemed to be a terrifying murderous intent on the 5-colored sacred mountain that targeted Ling Xiao. It was as if it wanted to destroy his soul. The fluctuation of the power of law was ethereal, mysterious, ancient, and vast. It carried the aura of a supreme being and a sense of immortality. This is the aura of a god. Could this be the path to the god realm? Ling Xiao's voice trembled as his eyes were filled with disbelief. 10,000 years ago, Ling Xiao was the #1 titled supreme being in the world. He was a peerless powerhouse who had touched the god realm. He had wanted to break through to the god realm countless times and ascend to the legendary eternal god realm. The aura and fluctuation left a deep impression on Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao could feel the same energy and fluctuation on the 5-colored sacred mountain. Buzz. The wordless heavenly book emitted a mysterious fluctuation that slowly enveloped Ling Xiao. Suddenly, the oppressive feeling disappeared. Ling Xiao regained his freedom. Ling Xiao took his first step along the white jade stairs. Rumble. When Ling Xiao stood on the white jade steps, the heavens and the earth rumbled. Lightning flashed, and a mysterious starry sky appeared behind Ling Xiao. There was only the 5-colored divine mountain and the white jade steps that led to the 9 heavens. Other than that, the surroundings were empty and mysterious. Ling Xiao's gaze was solemn. The 5-colored divine mountain gave off an eternal ripple, which had already exceeded the scope of his understanding. When Ling Xiao took a step forward, he felt that every step he took was extremely difficult. The terrifying power of laws would descend with each step. If it were not for the power of the wordless heavenly book, this simple step would have crushed Ling Xiao into smithereens. It was very quiet all around. Ling Xiao slowly climbed up the stairs. Withered bones and broken weapons began to appear under his feet, bringing with them a kind of dilapidated aura. They're at least 100,000 years old, and they're at least supreme being experts. Ling Zhao's gaze trembled. He carefully examined the bones and weapons and realized that these skeletons were all earth-shattering figures when they were alive. Moreover, they were very old, so old that even the bones of supreme beings had lost their divinity. Even the supreme being weapons had turned into scrap metal. Ling Zhao became more and more suspicious. Could this five-colored divine mountain really be the path to the God world? In front of him, a line of flamboyant words appeared on the mountain wall beside the stone steps. Below the words, there was a blood jade skeleton sitting cross-legged. The blood demon ancestor's path to the heavens is here. The great Tao doesn't tolerate it. What can be done? What can be done? Ling Zhao looked over, and felt that this line of words seemed to contain a mysterious power. A mountain of corpses and a sea of blood rushed towards him. It was as if a peerless expert that dominated the world was stepping on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood to break through to the supreme realm. The blood demon ancestor? Isn't that the titled supreme being from hundreds of thousands of years ago? It's said that he has already ascended to the God world. How did he die here? Ling Zhao's gaze trembled. The blood demon ancestor was said to be a giant of the demonic path. He killed countless people, and was a titled supreme being from hundreds of thousands of years ago. He was a peerless expert. Although the blood-red skeleton in front of him still looked blood-red, it had already lost its divinity. It was as if it would be completely destroyed soon. The path to heaven? The path to heaven? Ling Zhao felt more and more that this white jade stone steps were strange. Although he wanted to turn around and go back, there was a thought in his heart that urged him to continue forward. I want to see what this path to heaven is. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He gritted his teeth and continued forward. Not long after, Ling Zhao saw another line of words. The heavenly sword master ascends the path to heaven. Sword slashes heaven and earth. A white skeleton sat cross-legged under the words. There was still an incomparably sharp sword aura emanating from it. It looked extremely terrifying. Another titled supreme being. Ling Zhao had heard of the heavenly sword master before. He was a titled supreme being more than 300,000 years ago. As he continued forward, the laws of the great Tao became more and more terrifying. There was no substance, but there was a kind of power that could destroy everything. Ling Zhao felt that if he withdrew the power of the wordless heavenly book just like that, there would be nothing left of him. More and more words appeared in front of him. They were all earth-shattering figures from ancient times. The great wind cultivator ascends the path to heaven. His life ends here. The heavenly demon supreme being ascends the path to heaven. Hate, 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 hate. The Lord of Massacre, slaughtering millions of lives. His life ends at the path to heaven. The Nine Suns supreme being, burning the heavens and refining the earth. His life ends here. Ling Zhao's gaze became more and more serious. The great wind cultivator, the heavenly demon supreme being, the Lord of Massacre, and the others were all peerless figures from 100,000 years ago. They were all titled supreme beings. Only titled supreme beings could leave behind words on the stone walls of the five-colored sacred mountain. From those words, Ling Zhao could see the glory of these peerless characters back in the day. They were all outstanding talents of their generation, the proud sons of heaven. In the end, they all died in the five-colored sacred mountain. Other than their bones, nothing was left behind. Ling Zhao continued forward. When he was about to reach the top of the mountain, he found a total of 79 titled supreme beings' bones. They all died in silence with unwillingness. What exactly happened? Why didn't these people choose to go through the gods' tribulation and ascend to the realm of the gods? Why did they come here? Ling Zhao's gaze was extremely serious. There were countless doubts in his heart. The surroundings seemed to have turned into nothingness. He could vaguely see the top of the five-colored sacred mountain. There was a boundless chaos there, as if nothing existed. However, when Ling Zhao saw a line of words on the mountain wall in front of him, his body trembled and he staggered. I'm here. I still haven't seen you. I'll wait for you. I'll always wait for you, Jinsei. Chapter 478. It's Jinsei. Jinsei has been here before. Ling Zhao's mind was filled with this thought. He looked at the line of words in a daze. Suddenly Ling Zhao seemed to have thought of something. He abruptly looked down at the bottom of the stone wall, but it was empty. There was not a single corpse there. Jinsei won't die. Jinsei definitely won't die. Ling Zhao muttered to himself as if to strengthen his belief. There was no corpse there. Ling Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. Ling Zhao was even more curious about the origin of this five-colored sacred mountain. Even Jinsei had been here before. Was the heavenly road really the heavenly road to the realm of the gods? Ling Zhao wanted to find out the secret behind this. It might be crucial for him to find Jinsei. Ling Zhao slowly walked to the top of the five-colored sacred mountain. At the top of the mountain was a boundless void. It was as if nothing existed. The white jade steps seemed to be broken. A golden skeleton sat on the top of the mountain. It emitted a terrifying aura as if it had merged with the five-colored sacred mountain. It had a power that made the void tremble. Most importantly, Ling Zhao found that the divine substance on the skeleton had not disappeared. It looked like golden divine jade and flowed with a mysterious light. Next to the golden skeleton, there was a five-colored stone tablet. On the tablet, there were 10 ancient characters that were engraved in flamboyant calligraphy. Without the crimson dragon, the ages would be like a long night. The ancient characters exuded a fluctuation that looked down on the world. It made Ling Zhao vaguely feel like he saw a peerless expert standing at the peak of the heavens. Without the crimson dragon, the ages would be like a long night. What an arrogant tone. Ling Zhao sighed. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes. He could faintly feel that this golden skeleton seemed to be missing something. It had a very mysterious connection with Ling Zhao. Crimson Dragon. Crimson Dragon. Could it be the legendary Crimson Dragon War God? Ling Zhao's eyes widened. It was as if he had thought of a legend. The legendary Crimson Dragon War God was a peerless expert a million years ago. He was the most dazzling genius of that era. It was said that the Crimson Dragon War God started martial arts at 8. He became a grandmaster at 12, a diviner at 15, a noble at 18, an emperor at 20, a supreme at 23, and a supreme at 28. He became a titled supreme, and was given the title Crimson Dragon. At the age of 29, he had broken through the man-god barrier and reached the immortal realm. Legend has it that the Scarlet Dragon War God was the son of heaven. Whether it was the martial Tao, the Tao of alchemy, the Tao of blacksmiths, or the Tao of formations, he was a peerless genius in all of them. It was also said that the most mysterious war god temple in the war god continent had inherited the legacy of the Scarlet Dragon War God. This continent was called the War God Continent, and this world was called the War God Great World. This was all because of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Could it be that the Scarlet Dragon War God also died here? Hasn't he already ascended to the God realm? Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with shock. 10,000 years ago, someone once compared Ling Zhao with the Scarlet Dragon War God, claiming that Ling Zhao was the most talented genius in the last million years. When Ling Zhao broke through to the supreme stage 10,000 years ago, he was not even 50 years old. Even when he became the #1 expert in the world, the heaven-devouring supreme, he was only 60 years old. However, Ling Zhao knew that his talent was still far from that of the Scarlet Dragon War God. To break through to the supreme stage before the age of 30, it could be said that even the reincarnation of a god couldn't do it, but the Scarlet Dragon War God did it. It could only be described as the return of the heavens. 10,000 years ago, there were very few people who could break through to the god realm. Almost all of them were just legends. From the ancient books, something seemed to have happened a million years ago. It was said that the path to the god realm was cut off, and the gods were separated forever. How could the remains of the Scarlet Dragon War God appear here? Ling Zhao thought to himself. According to the legends, the Scarlet Dragon War God was a member of the Dragon Clan. However, what was left behind here was only the skeleton of a human. If this person was not the Scarlet Dragon War God, then who could it be? Ling Zhao stood on the top of the five-colored sacred mountain, surrounded by endless chaos, as if there was no concept of time and space. There was only a broken white jade staircase in front of him. The heavens road was cut off. Buzz. At this time, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness trembled slightly and slowly flew out of Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. It circled around the golden skeleton, sprinkling an incomparably soft light. The golden skeleton moved. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he instantly took a few steps back, revealing a dignified look. From the golden skeleton, a bright light shot out, bright to the extreme, and instantly integrated into Ling Zhao's body. The speed was extremely fast, and Ling Zhao did not have the slightest strength to resist. Ling Zhao's eyes instantly became cold. He carefully checked his body and found that there was nothing strange at all. But Ling Zhao could be sure that there was something extra in his body. He just did not know whether it was good fortune or evil. After the golden skeleton shot out that light, Ling Zhao could see that it began to become a little dim, as if it had lost some divine substance. It would not be long before it became the same as the skeletons on the stairs. I can't stay here for long. Ling Zhao's eyes moved, and the power of the primordial spirit filled the air. He called back the wordless heavenly book and slowly walked down the mountain. Ling Zhao's speed was very fast, and it did not take long for him to reach the foot of the mountain. The moment he left the five-colored sacred mountain, the scenery around him changed, and he appeared in the valley again. He was still surrounded by towering mountains that reached into the clouds. However, in front of Ling Zhao's eyes, there was a wave of light that spread out like water ripples, and the five-colored sacred mountain slowly disappeared before Ling Zhao's eyes. Ling Zhao felt that it was extremely unreal, as if the scene in the five-colored sacred mountain was a dream. Perhaps the path to becoming a god still has many secrets that I do not understand. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of sharpness, and he turned around to leave the valley. Ling Zhao followed the desolate mountain range all the way to the south. However, the further south he went, the more Ling Zhao felt that the surrounding mountains and rocks were beginning to be contaminated with a mysterious aura, ancient and strange. Especially after Ling Zhao went over a huge mountain, his eyes suddenly opened up. It was an extremely vast plain, and there seemed to be an extremely mysterious cave in the ground, spewing out bright light. Rumble. Heaven and earth were boundless, and the land was vast. Endless yin and yang qi rose up, and it was accompanied by chaotic fog. A huge ancient mind connected heaven and earth, and countless mysterious substances were spewing out from the cave, landing in the surrounding mountains. This is the primitive ancient mine. Ling Zhao's eyes widened, and he finally recognized it. There were many mysterious places in the War God continent, and some were even called forbidden areas that Supreme Being experts did not dare to casually step foot in. 10,000 years ago, there were a total of 7 forbidden areas in the War God continent. Now with the addition of the Reincarnation Sea, there were 8 forbidden areas. Among them, the primitive ancient mine was the most mysterious place among the 8 forbidden areas. The primitive ancient mine was mysterious and dangerous, and it occupied an extremely vast area. It was said that the primitive ancient mine had already existed when heaven and earth were created. The primitive ancient mine would spew out endless treasures, and it would also spew out powerful demonic beasts and monsters. Some people found supreme divine metals in the primitive ancient mine, and some people found natural treasures that contained the laws of the great Tao. However, there were also people who were swept into the primitive ancient mine by terrifying storms, and it was unknown whether they were alive or dead. It was unknown how many Supreme Being experts had fallen in the primitive ancient mine. Within the range of the primitive ancient mine, there seemed to be a mysterious power of laws. Even Supreme Beings would be suppressed by the power of laws, and they might even be killed. This should only be the periphery of the primitive ancient mine. Fortunately, the bronze shrine did not send me to the core of the primitive ancient mine. If I woke up those fellows in the primitive ancient mine, I would be in deep trouble. Ling Zhao muttered to himself. Chapter 479. The primitive ancient mine was too mysterious. Even in Ling Zhao's previous life, he did not know much about the primitive ancient mine. Legend had it that the living beings in the primitive ancient mine might have existed since the beginning of the world. They were extremely terrifying. However, the living beings in the primitive ancient mine rarely appeared in the world, and generally did not participate in the war god continent. However, they did not allow others to disturb them in the primitive ancient mine. Some reckless martial artists were greedy and sought treasures in the primitive ancient mine. Many of them met with misfortune and died unexpectedly. Ling Zhao's primordial spirit had transformed in the bronze divine palace. Now in his eyes, the primitive ancient mine in front of him seemed to be intertwined with countless mysterious lines. Those were the laws entwined in the ancient mine. It looked like shackles, but also like a formation. Could it be that the living beings in the primitive ancient mine are imprisoned here and have no way to come out? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he guessed in his heart. In the sky above the primitive ancient mine, there seemed to be a vast starry sky, filled with chaos, the creation of the world, and endless storms. The scene was shocking. Here, Ling Zhao felt that his eyes seemed to be a little different. He could see some mysterious things. This is really a good place to cultivate the heavenly star divine eyes. Ling Zhao thought to himself. There seemed to be a silver beam shooting out from his eyes. The heavenly star divine eyes was a supreme ability that required one to gather the power of the stars in the heavens and refine the laws of heaven and earth, allowing one's eyes to possess some of the power of the heavenly Tao. Ling Zhao found that in the primitive ancient mine, his heavenly star divine eyes seemed to be tempered by the laws here. His cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. If I can successfully cultivate the heavenly star divine eyes here, it'll be a great opportunity. Ling Zhao sat down cross-legged on a mountain peak outside the primitive ancient mine. Buzz. 2 silver beams of light spread out. Ling Zhao circulated the cultivation method of the heavenly star divine eyes. The starlight above the void was drawn down, enveloping Ling Zhao's surroundings and slowly merging into his eyes. Moreover, the law lines that enveloped the primitive ancient mine were also trembling slightly. Strands of light spread out, containing some kind of Tao rhyme. Ling Zhao saw through it and then absorbed it. The heavenly star god's eye that Lu Guqian had left behind had already been refined into some sort of treasure. Ling Zhao did not intend to refine it directly, but instead decided to cultivate it from scratch. In his previous life, although the heavenly star god eyes was created by Ling Zhao did not cultivate it himself. It was simply too difficult to cultivate this divine ability. Ling Zhao did not expect that cultivating the heavenly star divine pupils inside the primeval ancient mine would actually yield twice the results with half the effort. Boom. Ling Zhao's eyes flickered with silver light. It was as if 2 beams of divine light were connecting the heavens and the earth. Endless starlight sprinkled down, making this place look like a treasure. It was extremely dazzling. Ling Zhao sat there for 3 days and 3 nights. In these 3 days, a bright star seemed to have appeared on the top of the mountain, drawing in the power of the stars in the sky and refining the power of laws contained in the primitive ancient mine. It made Ling Zhao's eyes become a little different, with some kind of indifferent and ethereal state. Whoosh. 3 days later, Ling Zhao took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes, it was as if 2 beams of silver light pierced through the void, majestic and mysterious. At this moment, in Ling Zhao's eyes, the lines of laws in the primitive ancient mine in front of him became clearer. Ling Zhao could even see the indescribable power of destiny in the unseen world. However, there was no joy in Ling Zhao's eyes. Instead, he frowned slightly. The cultivation of the heavenly star divine pupils has actually deviated from the idea I had when I first created this divine ability. It did not open up the third eye. Instead, it was reborn with the eyes as the foundation. Could it be because of the primitive ancient mine? Ling Zhao whispered to himself. However, he did not find anything wrong. The current heavenly star divine pupils might be able to become the primeval divine pupils. It had actually absorbed the primeval chi in the primitive ancient mine. Boom. The primitive ancient mine in front of him suddenly began to tremble violently. Endless bright divine light rushed into the sky, spewing out endless mysterious substances with some kind of mysterious power that swept in all directions. Among them, there was a divine stone that flowed with silver light. It looked to be the size of a fist, filled with mysterious mist, and flew toward Ling Zhao. This is really a stroke of good luck. There was a flash of light in Ling Zhao's eyes. Although the treasures that spewed out from the primitive ancient mine were extremely precious, Ordinary people would not dare to enter it as it was easy to encounter a terrifying danger. However, the silver divine stone had spewed out further, and it had already reached the periphery of the primitive ancient mine. Ling Xiao naturally did not hold back. He leaped over and grabbed the silver stone. Swoosh! Just then, Ling Xiao felt an air-piercing sound behind him. It was accompanied by a cold murderous intention that attacked the back of his head. There was a flash of cold light in Ling Xiao's eyes. He instantly performed the Great Shift super skill, and his body disappeared from the spot. He appeared directly in front of the silver divine stone and grabbed it in his hand. Then, Ling Xiao saw that it was a black flying dagger that had attacked him. It contained an extremely sharp ray of light, and it had directly shot a small hill in the distance and exploded it. Young man, hand over the silver stone in your hand. 3 young men in silver starry robes with strong auras flew over from afar and surrounded Ling Xiao. They looked at the silver divine stone in Ling Xiao's hand, and their eyes were filled with greed. People from Star Palace? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he recognized the 3 young men. All of them were of level 3 noble realm cultivation, and they should be inner sect disciples of Star Palace. They had strong bodies and extraordinary temperaments. Their faces were filled with arrogance. Young man, since you know that we are from Star Palace, why don't you hand over the silver stone in your hand? One of the young men said indifferently. The silver divine stone in Ling Xiao's hand was the size of a human head. Although it was irregular, it was crystal clear and flawless. It emitted an extremely beautiful ray of light and pure star power. 100,000-year-old star essence is a supreme treasure that can be used to refine supreme weapons. I found this star essence first. Why should I hand it over to you? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and his expression was extremely calm. Why should we? Because we are disciples of Star Palace. The young man laughed coldly. Young man, with your strength, you don't deserve such a treasure. Is this enough? Why are you wasting time with him? Just kill him. The other young man looked impatient, and there was a cold murderous intention in his eyes. The third young man originally wanted to say something, but his eyes suddenly trembled. He revealed an extremely shocked expression and said, You are Ling Xiao? Ling Xiao. The other 2 young men shuddered, and they quickly took a closer look. You know me? Chapter 480. Ah. As expected, it's Ling Xiao. The sect has already said that if we capture Ling Xiao alive, we will be rewarded with a supreme divine power and a peerless doctrine weapon. Juniors, this is our luck. Capture him. A young man laughed out loud. Suddenly, there was a flash of cold light in his eyes as he shouted. The 3 disciples of Star Palace gave out an extremely strong aura at the same time. Boundless palm prints fell towards Ling Xiao. Star Palace wants to capture me? It seems that the news of He Qingji's death has been leaked. Ling Xiao thought to himself. He Qingji had chased after Ling Xiao and created such a huge commotion. Now that He Qingji was dead, it would be strange if Star Palace did not suspect Ling Xiao. Rumble. There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes and a terrifying dragon power spread around him. He threw a punch and a golden divine light exploded. It was as though he had transformed into a primordial real dragon in an instant. The 3 disciples of Star Palace were shocked. They instantly gave out a miserable cry, and were sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Their arms exploded in the void, and they coughed out blood continuously. Their eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. Tell me, why did Star Palace put a bounty on me? How many people did they send? There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes and a boundless and terrifying aura pressed down. The 3 disciples of Star Palace did not have any power to resist, and they told him the truth very quickly. Just like what Ling Xiao had imagined, Star Palace really suspected him because of He Qingji's death. Ziwei Gaochen Qisha, Junpe and Tanlang, the 5 stars? What a boastful tone. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. He did not expect Star Palace to send the so-called 5 peerless geniuses instead of the old ones. Ziwei, Gaochen Qisha, Junpe and Tanlang were all supreme stars. Especially Ziwei star, it was known as the master of 10,000 stars. There was no emperor star, and it ruled the world. The 5 exceptional geniuses of Star Palace dared to use the 5 supreme stars as their names. Although it was arrogant, one could tell that the 5 exceptional geniuses were extraordinary. However, the 3 disciples of Star Palace did not know the cultivation levels of the 5 of them. They only knew that each of them was at least of LV9 noble realm, and they had cultivated the Star Palace's supreme superpower. They had also cultivated the Soaring Star Sutra, the sect's most powerful divine skill. Ling Xiao, you better let us go obediently. The star child of the greedy wolf is in the primitive ancient mine. When he arrives, you will die without a doubt. A disciple from Star Palace said in a threatening manner. You dare to threaten me? You are courting death. A cold glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and a sharp light flashed in his hand. Immediately, 3 huge heads soared into the sky. Their primordial spirits were directly devoured by the sky-devouring golden lotus. The real swallowing fire spread, and the corpses of the 3 disciples of Star Palace instantly turned into ashes. Ling Xiao flipped through the memories of the 3 people's souls, and a strange light appeared in his eyes. Heavenly God Convention? In the memories of the 3 disciples of Star Palace, Ling Xiao saw information related to the Heavenly God Convention. The ancient kingdom of Dragon had a piece of God's stone. It was said that it had existed for countless years, and was left behind by the founding emperor of the kingdom of Dragon. There were also people who said that the God's stone flew out from the primitive ancient mine, and was obtained by the founding emperor of the ancient kingdom of Dragon. The God's stone was extremely mysterious. It contained the God's light. Cultivating under the God's stone would allow one to comprehend the rules of heaven, and improve one's cultivation level by leaps and bounds. There were even people who comprehended the supreme superpower in the God's stone. Now the ancient kingdom of Dragon was willing to take out the God's stone, and hold a Heavenly God Convention, so that everyone could comprehend the secrets of the God's stone together. I have heard of the secrets of the God's stone 10,000 years ago. The old goat even wanted to steal the God's stone a few times. If he knew about the Heavenly God Convention, he would definitely go. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He did not have any thoughts about the God's stone. However, when the time came, many sanctuaries and geniuses would gather. He should be able to find out the whereabouts of the old goat and the others. The Heavenly God Convention would be held in the capital of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, Heavenly God City. Heavenly God City was not only the capital of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, but also an incomparably mysterious city. Because it was very close to the primitive ancient mine, there were many strange ancient stones in Heavenly God City. Those ancient stones were obtained by adventurers from the primitive ancient mine. The ancient stones contained many rare treasures. Some were supreme divine metals, some were peerless spirit herbs, some were precious pills left behind from ancient times, and all sorts of mysterious treasures. That was why the most popular thing in Heavenly God City was stone gambling. Even a god would find it hard to tell what was inside those ancient stones. Even a god would find it hard to tell. Stone gambling was a gamble of luck, but it was also a test of one's vision. Heavenly God City is to the east of the primitive ancient mine. Let's go take a look. Ling Xiao made up his mind. He could find out the whereabouts of the old goat, and the others in Heavenly God City. Moreover, there was a void transfer array in Heavenly God City. Going to Gemini Mountain from there was not a bad choice. This star essence. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt that the star essence in his hand seemed to be contaminated with the aura of the primitive ancient mine, becoming extremely mysterious. Moreover, the star chi it emitted seemed to be absorbed by Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eye, slowly increasing its power. Currently, Ling Xiao had only cultivated the heavenly star god eye to the small perfection realm. He could use its probing abilities, but if he wanted it to contain the destructive divine light like Lu Gichen, he would still need a long time to polish it. Ling Xiao followed the periphery of the primitive ancient mine, heading toward Heavenly God City in the east. As he hurried, he absorbed the energy within the star essence and constantly comprehended the heavenly star god eye. Not long after Ling Xiao left, a resplendent stream of light fell from the sky, emitting incomparably powerful fluctuations. A silver star chariot appeared. It looked ancient and mysterious, flowing with a mysterious luster of runes. 9 silver flood dragons, each dozens of feet long, covered in incomparably sharp silver scales, exuding a powerful aura. These 9 silver flood dragons were all at the Demon King level. A man in a black robe, with a head full of silver hair, sat cross-legged on the chariot. He had a handsome face and his entire body was covered in a cold, murderous aura. When he opened his eyes, there seemed to be terrifying divine light shooting out. Around the star chariot, there were dozens of dignified young men and women. They were all wearing star robes and each of them had an extraordinary bearing. Senior brother Tanlang, junior brother Chen and the others should have died here. A Star Palace disciple said respectfully. The man in a black robe sitting on the star chariot was one of the 5 great stars, Tanlang's starchild. How dare you kill the disciples of Star Palace? I would like to see who dares to be so arrogant. Over there, go after him. Tanlang's eyes flashed with stars and a cold light flashed. He pointed in the direction where Ling Xiao had gone and said coldly, "Yes." Chapter 481. After Ling Xiao had comprehended the greater teleportation technique from the secret teleportation technique, his speed had become extremely fast. He wasn't any slower than an Emperor Realm expert. Even so, Ling Xiao still took almost a month to leave the area covered by the ancient mine. The mountainous terrain ahead was majestic. Numerous enormous mountain ranges rose steeply from the ground. Clouds and mist curled about, and immortal light pervaded the air. It seemed to have a bit more of a gorgeous aura, and a bit less of a desolate aura. The vast mountain range stretched for hundreds of thousands of miles. It was like a huge true dragon lying dormant on the ground. It was beautiful and mysterious. The Green Dragon Mountain Range. The Green Dragon Mountain Range was said to be the dragon vein of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. It controlled the fortune of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Therefore, the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. The ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon wasn't much weaker than the top martial Dao Holy Lands. After crossing the Green Dragon Mountain Range, he arrived at Heavenly God City. Ling Xiao stood in the air and looked around. Behind the Green Dragon Mountain Range was an incomparably vast plain. An ancient and majestic city sat on the ground, shrouded in bright light. It was like the palace of a celestial emperor, mysterious and vast. Heavenly God City. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Heavenly God City had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It had been strengthened by generations of experts of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. It was covered in supreme seals and intertwined killing formations. It was incomparably terrifying. Even a supreme expert who dared to forcefully attack Heavenly God City would be killed by the terrifying formation. It was said that the reason Heavenly God City was so prosperous was greatly related to the Heavenly God Stone. The Heavenly God Stone was mysterious and unfathomable. It was very likely that it was a treasure of the God realm. It contained the mystery of becoming a god. Unfortunately, after so many years, no one had been able to understand the mysteries of the Heavenly God Stone. 10,000 years ago, Ling Xiao had wanted to take a look at the Heavenly God Stone. However, he and Supreme True Dragon had discovered the Scarlet Dragon War God's tomb first, so he hadn't seen the Heavenly God Stone. Outside Heavenly God City, ancient trees towered into the sky. Strange flowers and plants could be seen everywhere. Misty fog rose from the ground, making it look like a paradise. Heavenly God City was like spring all year round, untouched by wind, frost, and dust. Even the most ordinary flowers and plants were comparable to spiritual medicines, mysterious and unfathomable. A wide bluestone path led to Heavenly God City. Peach trees lined both sides of the path. At this moment, pink peach blossoms were blooming all over the trees. They swayed gently in the wind, and the fragrance of the flowers filled the air. It was extremely beautiful. 1,000 miles of peach trees, 1,000 miles of peach blossoms. Moreover, there was a strange fragrance that made people feel energetic. Ling Xiao landed on the bluestone path and slowly walked towards Heavenly God City. There were many figures along the way, and the majority of them were young geniuses with powerful cultivations. Each of them had a dignified appearance, an extraordinary bearing, and a heroic spirit. Ling Xiao guessed that these should be the participants of the heavenly god assembly. Rumble. The earth trembled slightly and dust billowed in the distance. A group of white-robed armored soldiers riding white dragon horses rushed over with a platinum-colored war chariot. The platinum-colored war chariot flickered with mysterious runes, and an ancient aura pervaded the air. In front of it were 8 majestic dragon horses pulling the chariot. Each dragon horse was more than 1 zhang tall and shrouded in a resplendent white light. Their bodies were covered in white dragon scales, and their blood and energy surged. They were all demonic king-level experts. It's the descendant of the Qi King Province's Jiang family. TSK, 8 demonic king-level dragon horses pulling the chariot. This person must be a core member of the Jiang family. That's right. The Jiang family's background is no weaker than the hidden ancient families of the martial Holy Lands. It's said that every 1,000 years, one of them will become a supreme being. Could this person be the Jiang family's heavenly sealed divine body? It's possible. I heard that the heavenly sealed divine body has cultivated 64 great divine abilities and condensed the divine seal Dharma idol. I didn't expect him to come to the heavenly god assembly. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could faintly make out a heroic young man on the war chariot. He was shrouded in a mysterious aura, as if a divine king had arrived. Boom. There seemed to be golden flames spreading in the void. 36 crimson divine birds shrouded in flames pulled a war chariot that rumbled across the sky. It was extremely imposing. It's the Sun Palace's saint. TSK, the Sun Palace's saint is also here. It seems that the Moon Palace and Star Palace's saintesses and star children are not far away. That's right. It said that in ancient times, the Sun Palace, Moon Palace, and Star Palace used to be one holy land of the martial way. Later on they split into 3, so the disciples of these 3 palaces often have conflicts with each other. This is going to be a good show. I wonder how many saints this is. The Sun Palace originally had 9 saints. I heard that a few months ago, the Sun Palace master personally took in a disciple who was called the 10th saint. He gathered 10 suns across the sky. Could this person be the mysterious 10th saint? Rumble. On the road to Heavenly God City and in the sky, powerful geniuses constantly arrived. Some were driving ancient war chariots, some were riding divine beasts. Each of them had a dignified appearance and extraordinary bearing. There were even beautiful women who were a feast for the eyes. After the 1,000-mile peach forest was Heavenly God City. The city walls of Heavenly God City were thousands of feet tall. They were like ancient beasts, exuding a vast and mysterious aura. The city walls were hazy with chaotic colors and looked incomparably modeled. These were traces left behind by hundreds of thousands of years of time. The city gates of Heavenly God City were like a giant dragon's head, exuding a vast and mysterious dragon might. It was very strange. Within Heavenly God City, there were huge palaces, pavilions, restaurants, markets, treasured lands of the demon race, and temples. Sect masters could be seen everywhere. It was extremely lively, with countless people coming and going. After entering Heavenly God City, Ling Xiao discovered many Celestial Realm and Noble Realm experts. There were even many Emperor Realm experts whose auras were extremely powerful. In the depths of Heavenly God City, there was even a faint aura that made the heavens and earth tremble. It was obscure and mysterious. That was a supreme. On both sides of the wide street, there were many hawking voices. There were many precious weapons, pills, spiritual herbs, and other strange things on display. Of course, most of them were ancient stones of various shapes and sizes. These ancient stones exuded ancient and mysterious ripples. One could tell at a glance that they were extraordinary. But Ling Xiao knew that the auras of many of these ancient stones had been created. In reality, there was nothing inside these ancient stones. The streets were a mix of crooks and honest folk, especially the martial artists who set up the stalls. Almost all of them were one-time buyers, and they loved to scam those genius disciples who had just come out to temper themselves. Thus, if one wanted to pick up some scraps here, they would end up being suckers. Of course, there were a few people with extremely sharp eyes who could find true treasures in this trash, but these were the minority. After all, The people who mingled in the streets all had extremely sharp eyes. Sir, please wait. This poor Taoist sees that your forehead is dark and your eyes are dim. Your origin spirit is filled with death qi. In a few days, you will face a bloody calamity. An indifferent voice came from behind Ling Xiao. Chapter 482. Standing behind Ling Xiao was a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe. He had a jade-like face, eyes like stars, and 3 strands of beard fluttering in the wind. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand and looked like an immortal. One look at him, and one would have a good impression of him. Ling Xiao was slightly stunned and could not help but blurt out, "Taoist Wu Liang. Hey, you recognize me?" The middle-aged Taoist's eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao curiously. Cough cough. I've heard of your great name. Now that I've met you today, you're indeed extraordinarily handsome and admirable. Ling Xiao coughed softly, suppressed the shock in his heart, and smiled. However, Ling Xiao's heart was in turmoil. The middle-aged Taoist in front of him was an old friend of Ling Xiao's from his previous life. Taoist Wu Liang was an expert in physiognomy. He could check the weather, observe feng shui, and summon the wind and rain. He was said to be an expert in the 8 trigrams and could predict good fortune and bad luck, as well as the past and the future. He was extremely mysterious. However, Taoist Wu Liang's style was problematic. He often used the name of physiognomy to commit adultery. 10,000 years ago, many saintesses and princesses of the martial arts Holy Lands were impregnated by Taoist Wu Liang. However, they were all infatuated with him and would die for him. This guy looked elegant, but in reality, he was sanctimonious. He was a big pervert who swindled and cheated. There was nothing he would not do. That was why he was called Taoist Wu Liang. In Ling Xiao's previous life, Taoist Wu Liang was the public enemy of all young talents. He was an existence that everyone wanted to beat up wherever he went. However, Taoist Wu Liang was extremely talented. He had broken through to the supreme realm earlier than Ling Xiao. His strength was unfathomable. He could be said to be Ling Xiao's teacher and friend. The two of them were very close. Moreover, the old goat and Taoist Wu Liang had a good relationship. Both of them were evil. One liked to dig up the ancestral graves of the Holy Lands, while the other liked to steal the saintesses of the Holy Lands. They were like rats crossing the street. However, Taoist Wu Liang looked like he was only in his 30s, but he was already an expert of the imperial path. His foundation was very young, and this made Ling Xiao extremely shocked. Did this guy live a second life? Ling Xiao's heart was shaken, but he didn't show it on the surface. Since you know my name, then you should know my reputation. I don't read people's fortune easily. Today, I have a Celestial Lord talisman. I will only take 10,000 pure yang pills from you. As long as you swallow it with the rootless water, it will definitely resolve your bloody disaster within 3 days. Taoist Wu Liang had the look of an otherworldly expert. There was a faint smile on his face. With a flash of light, a yellow talisman paper appeared in his hand. There were mysterious runes on it, and it carried a trace of powerful Dao rhyme. Knowing Taoist Wu Liang's character, Ling Xiao naturally did not believe this fellow. However, he did not expose him. He smiled slightly and said, "Taoist priest, I don't have pure yang pills." "No pure yang pills? That's impossible, right? You're only 17 years old, and yet you're already at the first level of the noble realm. You must be a genius from a sacred ground. What are you doing here in Heavenly God City without pure yang pills?" Taoist Wu Liang said as he sized up Ling Xiao. "Taoist priest, I really don't have any pure yang pills, so I won't be using your Celestial Lord talisman for now. However, if you don't mind, you can follow me for now. I'll give you the pure yang pills when I get them from my sect." Ling Xiao smiled. He had acknowledged his identity as a disciple of a sacred ground, and was not in a hurry to meet Taoist Wu Liang. There were still many things that needed to be verified. After killing the ancestor of the Lu clan and a few disciples of the Stellar sect, Ling Xiao still had 10,000 pure yang pills in his hands. Taoist Wu Liang thought for a while and said, "That's good too. I've saved the dying and healed the injured. Since we're fated to meet today, I'll follow you for now. I wonder if you have any senior or junior sisters." I'm also good at retaining my looks. I'm unparalleled in the world. Ling Xiao saw that Daoist Wuliang was trying to curry favor with him, and his eyes were shining. He knew that this fellow had not changed his nature. Ling Xiao held back his laughter and said, I do have many senior and junior sisters. They're all beautiful and talented. I'll introduce them to you later. That's great. Little brother, I'll definitely take care of your bloody calamity, Taoist Wuliang said in a righteous manner. Soon he became familiar with Ling Xiao, putting his arm around Ling Xiao's shoulder and calling him brother. Ling Xiao was about to go to the precious treasure pavilion in Heavenly God City to find out about the whereabouts of the old goat and the others. Just as Ling Xiao was passing through a street filled with street stalls, he saw a group of people gathered in front of a stall, pointing and gossiping. The stall owner was an old man whose teeth were about to fall out. There were dozens of ancient stones of different shapes in front of him. They looked black and ordinary. The old man sat there leisurely and did not speak. There was a signboard in front of him with a line of words written on it. 10,000 pure yang pills for one ancient stone. Each person is limited to one stone. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback. 10,000 pure yang pills could only be exchanged for one ancient stone. This price was indeed a little shocking. One had to know that a single pure yang pill contained an enormous amount of pure yang spiritual energy. It was the energy that an emperor realm expert or even a supreme expert needed to cultivate. Pure yang spiritual energy was also known as the source of energy that was closest to the God realm. 10,000 pure yang pills could be exchanged for 100 million spiritual crystals. Ling Xiao looked at the surrounding stalls. The ancient stones were all priced at a few pure yang pills. 100 pure yang pills could buy 10,000 jin of ancient stones. The largest ancient stone in front of the old man did not exceed 10 jin. They were all the size of a fist, and yet they were priced at 10,000 pure yang pills. However, when Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the dozens of black ancient stones, he felt the wordless heavenly book in his sea of consciousness tremble slightly. Is there something strange about these ancient stones? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he walked over. I think this old man is crazy. Isn't that so? 10,000 pure yang pills for this broken stone. Even the precious treasure pavilion's heaven-grade ancient stones are not worth that much. Everyone, let's disperse. Who would buy these stones? Unless there's water in their brains. Hee. I really want to see who will be the spendthrift. The surrounding crowd discussed animatedly. Most of them were mocking and ridiculing. Some genius disciples were interested in these stones, but when they saw the price, they immediately turned and left. What a joke! Even if there were pure yang pills, it would not be wasted like this. A silver light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, but those ancient stones were enveloped in a layer of hazy light. Even Ling Xiao's heavenly star god, I could not see what was inside. As the saying went, even the gods would find it difficult to cut an inch of jade. Before the ancient stones were cut open, even the gods might not be able to determine what was inside. However, those stones had attracted the attention of the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao knew that the wordless heavenly book's standards were extremely high. Even the king of spiritual herbs would find it difficult to attract the attention of the wordless heavenly book. Perhaps only supreme sacred herbs could cause the wordless heavenly book to react. Could it be that these black stones contain treasures comparable to supreme sacred herbs? If that was the case, Ling Xiao wanted to give it a try. Just as Ling Xiao's eyes shot out the silver light, the old man's turbid eyes also flashed with a trace of light, but he closed them again immediately. Ling Xiao squeezed into the crowd, squatted in front of the stall, and used his hands to touch those black ancient stones. Little brother, this old man is obviously lying. Don't be fooled. Someone kindly reminded him. Many thanks. I'm just taking a look. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Those black ancient stones were cold to the touch, giving off an extremely uncomfortable feeling. When he tried to feel them carefully, he could not feel anything. Chapter 483. These dozens of ancient stones were all shrouded in black mist, making it difficult to detect if there were treasures hidden within. However, when Ling Xiao touched all the ancient stones, He found that only 3 of them could cause the wordless heavenly book to vibrate. The rest had no reaction. Among the 3 ancient stones, the wordless heavenly book was the most excited. If it were not for Ling Zhao's suppression, it would have escaped from his consciousness. Of course, it did not mean that the wordless heavenly book had no reaction. There was no treasure in the ancient stone. It was just that the wordless heavenly book's standards were too high. Only rare treasures could catch its eye. Sir, I want all 3 ancient stones. Can you make an exception for me? Ling Zhao smiled and picked out the 3 ancient stones that had reacted to the wordless heavenly book. Although this old man looked like half his body was about to be buried in the ground, and there were no fluctuations of cultivation on his body, Ling Zhao felt an inexplicable sense of danger. This could only mean that even Ling Zhao could not see through this old man's cultivation. Each person can only buy 1. The old man said lightly. Everyone was dumbfounded. They looked at Ling Zhao as if he was an idiot. Was there really a fool who wanted to buy these ancient stones? Little brother, although these ancient stones have a very strong Taoist rhyme, they have broken lines and black spots. These are all soul-breaking stones. They are useless stones. It is impossible to cut out treasures from them. You must be careful. A martial artist who knew the trade advised kindly. Although stone gambling depended on luck, many martial artists who were proficient in stone gambling had been immersed in it for countless years. Naturally, they had cultivated the fiery golden eyes and the ancient stone technique. They could roughly determine what kind of ancient stone could contain treasures. Thank you. I just want to buy 2 of them to play with. Ling Zhao said with a smile. Spending 10,000 pure yang elixirs to buy a soul-breaking stone to play with? Everyone was speechless. Ling Zhao was very young, but he was already at LV1 noble realm. They guessed that he was probably a disciple of some holy ground. They were envious and jealous. 10,000 pure yang elixirs was an astronomical figure to them, but it was nothing to the disciples of the holy ground. Senior, if I ask someone else to buy it for me? Ling Zhao asked softly. The old man looked at Ling Zhao with his cloudy eyes and nodded lightly. Ling Zhao immediately heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the old man's rule of 1 pure yang elixir per person was flexible. Little brother, are you really going to buy these soul-breaking stones? I'm proficient in physiognomy, but I can't see these stones. I advise you not to waste your money recklessly. How about 30,000 pure yang pills and 3 celestial venerable talismans? Taoist Wuliang looked at Ling Zhao as though he was looking at a fool. He even tried to persuade Ling Zhao out of kindness. Taoist, I don't have any pure yang pills with me. Can you lend me 30,000 pure yang pills? Ling Zhao looked at Taoist Wuliang and asked. You want to borrow my pure yang elixirs of me? Of you. Taoist Wuliang immediately took a step back vigilantly. He looked like a miser and was extremely stingy. By Ling of Wuliang, Wuliang's Taoist to Wuliang, Taoist Wooding of Heavens and Taoist Wuliang shuddered. He looked at Ling Zhao as if he had seen a ghost. Who are you? Lend me 30,000 pure yang elixirs first. I'll tell you later. Ling Zhao smiled. Taoist Wuliang was like the old goat. They were both misers. If he didn't give them some benefits, they wouldn't fall for it. All right. I'll lend you my coffin. But Taoist Wuliang's eyes revealed a trace of treachery. Later, when you cut open these 3 stones, if you find treasures, you have to share half of them with me. I don't want the 30,000 pure yang elixirs. Ling Zhao said. What if you don't find anything? Of course you have to return the 30,000 pure yang elixirs. Taoist Wuliang said matter-of-factly. All right, deal. Ling Zhao rolled his eyes and said. He was more and more convinced that Taoist Wuliang had reincarnated. His greedy and lustful nature had not changed at all. In the end, Taoist Wuliang carefully took out a storage bag and handed it to Ling Zhao. His face was full of pain. Ling Zhao took it and then looked at the old man who had kindly advised him. Sir, can you help me make up the numbers and buy an ancient stone? The old man's hair and beard were all white, and his face was rosy. He was wearing a brocade robe, and he looked like a rich man. He was cheerful. Little brother, since you insist on buying, I won't persuade you anymore. However, you'll be disappointed if you spend 30,000 pure yang elixirs to buy 3 breaking soul stones. The old man sighed softly and nodded in agreement. Ling Xiao laughed in his heart. How could the wordless heavenly book be interested in something bad? The value of the 3 ancient stones would probably be more than 10 times higher. He handed the storage bag to the old stall owner and was about to take the 3 breaking soul stones. Swoosh! At that moment, a piercing sound was heard. It was a trace of invisible sword qi that contained unparalleled sharpness. If Ling Xiao had been an ordinary cultivator of the first level of the noble plane, his hand would have been chopped off by the sword qi. Ling Xiao's eyes turned cold. A ray of golden light exploded in his hand and instantly destroyed the shapeless sword qi. Then he grabbed the 3 breaking soul stones. Kid, put down the 3 breaking soul stones. I want them. A lazy voice rang out, carrying an attitude that would not allow anyone to defy it. The crowd parted and a young man in white holding a folding fan walked in with a few subordinates. Next to him was a black-robed old man with a sinister face. He exuded a chilling ghostly aura. The white-robed young man was very handsome. He was tall and slender, and his aura was powerful. He was already at the 9th level of the noble plane. His face was full of arrogance as he looked down at Ling Xiao with a commanding attitude. Is that Nantian sword, the 3rd young master of the Nantian family? Are these breaking soul stones that precious? Even Nantian sword wants them. Like precious treasure pavilion. The Nantian family started out by selling rare treasures. In recent years, they have shown signs of challenging precious treasure pavilion. To the Nantian family, tens of thousands of pure yang elixirs are nothing. Maybe they're just playing around? This is going to be interesting. I wonder which clan this young man is from. Everyone's eyes lit up as they recognized the identity of the young man in white. Some of them were even gloating, hoping that Ling Xiao and Nantian sword would fight. Why should I? I've already bought these 3 ancient stones. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke plainly. Chapter 484. Ling Xiao wasn't even afraid of those hidden ancient clans, let alone a nouveau riche. Why? Because I'm Nangongjian. Because this entire street belongs to my Nantian clan. Old man, I'll give you 30,000 pure yang pills. Who do you want to sell these 3 ancient stones to? South Sky Sword sneered. His gaze casually fell on the stall owner as he spoke in a threatening manner. The stall owner didn't even look at Nangongjian as he said indifferently. Those 3 ancient stones have already been sold. If you don't want to continue buying, then I'm going to close the stall. After he finished speaking, the old man stood up shakily. He unhurriedly put away the dozens of ancient stones and turned around to leave. Bastard, you actually dared to offend our 3rd young master. Do you believe that we won't let you enter this street in the future? Behind Nangongjian, a loyal henchman jumped up and pointed at the old man as he was about to curse. Slap. The black-robed man standing beside Nangongjian instantly slapped the henchman, causing all of his teeth to fly out. You disgrace scram. A cold voice resounded as a trace of killing intent appeared in the black-robed man's sinister eyes. Second uncle this is? Nangongjian's expression was slightly unsightly. He also wanted to curse the henchman, but in the end his second uncle didn't look for trouble with the stall owner. Instead, he came to teach his own people a lesson. That old man isn't simple. Don't provoke him. The black-robed man looked deeply at the old man who left and said slowly. Ling Xiao also looked at the black-robed man with surprise. He seemed to be only at the monarch realm, but he was actually able to see that the old man wasn't simple. His eyesight was indeed extraordinary. Kid, I've changed my mind. This is a pure yang pill. Hand over the 3 ancient stones in your hand, or I'll break your legs. Nangongjian was very depressed. He immediately vented his anger on Ling Xiao as a pure yang pill appeared in his hand. He wanted to exchange for Ling Xiao's 3 ancient stones. Everyone was stunned. Nangongjian was really overbearing. He wanted to exchange a pure yang pill for the 3 ancient stones in Ling Xiao's hand. However, this young man's cultivation didn't seem to be high enough. He probably had no choice but to submit under Nangongjian's pressure. Idiot. Ling Xiao looked at Southern Sky Sword as if he was looking at an idiot. He spat out 2 words and turned to leave. This Nantian sword was truly a weirdo. It could be said that this was the first time Ling Xiao had ever seen such an arrogant and egotistical person. Yet he still hadn't been beaten to death. He was probably relying on the reputation of the Nantian family. Haha. Little brother, the word idiot is too apt to describe you. Taoist Wuliang laughed. The more he looked at Ling Xiao, the more he liked him. The crowd was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. This young man really had some character. He actually dared to scold Southern Sky Sword. Didn't he see that Southern Sky Sword's face was already as red as a pig's liver? Bastard! Nan Tianjian was about to go crazy from anger. This young man actually dared to scold him, Nan Gongjian. Nan Gongjian was born with a golden spoon in his mouth, and no one dared to disobey him. Southern Sky Sword's eyes were practically spitting out flames. He pointed at Ling Xiao and said, "Beat him up. Beat him up as hard as you can. If he dies, it's on me." When the lackeys behind Nan Gongjian heard this, they immediately pounced forward like wolves and tigers, wanting to attack. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. So what if he was from the Nantian family? Since Southern Sky Sword kept pestering him, he didn't mind killing him. Rumble. At that moment, the ground rumbled. A group of soldiers wearing Azure Dragon armor and riding Azure Dragon scale horses charged over. Their eyes were cold, and their auras were incomparably powerful. The leader was a valiant woman. Her figure was graceful, and she wore Azure Dragon scale armor that accentuated her curves. She seemed to be at the peak of the 9th level of the noble realm, and the soldiers behind her were at least celestial realm experts. "It's the Azure Dragon Guards." Someone cried out in surprise. The Azure Dragon Guards were imposing, and had already arrived in front of Ling Xiao and the others. During the Heavenly God Conference, anyone who dares to attack in Heavenly God City will be killed without mercy. The woman's voice was incomparably cold. It carried a decisive ruthlessness as it rang out in the void. Kill. 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 The Azure Dragon Guards behind the woman shouted 3 times at the same time. Their killing intent surged, and their eyes seemed to be intertwined with lightning. A terrifying aura swept out, causing everyone's expressions to change. Even Southern Sky Sword's expression changed slightly. Even though the Nantian family was very powerful, he didn't dare to offend the Azure Dragon Guards in Heavenly God City. "Brat, consider yourself lucky today. If you have the guts, don't leave Heavenly God City." Southern Sky Sword glared hatefully at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao laughed coldly, completely ignoring him. However, Ling Xiao suddenly felt that something was wrong. Beside him, Taoist Wuliang was looking at the woman in Azure Dragon scale armor with a lustful gaze. The woman also saw Taoist Wuliang. Her beautiful eyes were covered with a trace of frost as she said coldly, "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyeballs out." Taoist Wuliang sighed softly and said, "Miss, you're as beautiful as a fairy. If you put on makeup and comb your hair, your beauty will be unparalleled. This cold armor really buries your peerless beauty." Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Taoist Wuliang really didn't change. He even dared to flirt with the leader of the Azure Dragon Guards. He could already see that the woman's gaze was getting colder and colder. Ling Xiao immediately smiled bitterly and said, "Miss, please don't blame him. My big brother has had a problem with his brain since he was young. He likes to talk nonsense. Please don't lower yourself to his level. I'll take him away now." Once he finished speaking, Ling Xiao pulled Taoist Wuliang away without any explanation. "Umph." The woman in Azure Dragon scale armor snorted coldly. She retracted her murderous gaze, turned her horse around, and left with the Azure Dragon Guards. "Third young master, where are we going?" The lackeys behind Southern Sky Sword asked. "Follow that kid. Wherever he goes, we'll go." The more Southern Sky Sword thought about it, the more he couldn't swallow the anger in his heart. He pointed at Ling Xiao and said fiercely. Ling Xiao pulled Taoist Wuliang forward. Taoist Wuliang had a look of reluctance as he grumbled, "Little brother, why are you pulling me? Didn't you see that the lady has been subdued by my elegance and has secretly given her heart to me? You ruined my great marriage, so you have to compensate me with 50,000. No, 100,000 pure young pills. Compensate your ass. If you don't leave now, I'm afraid that the lady will draw her sword and chop you into pieces. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said, Impossible. I'm so elegant, handsome, and otherworldly. That girl must have already secretly given her heart to me. It's just that she's too shy to say it out loud. You don't understand, you don't understand. Taoist Wuliang said with a look of pity. All right. That lady has secretly given her heart to you, okay? Let's find a place and cut those 3 ancient stones first. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. At the mention of the ancient stones, Taoist Wuliang immediately became spirited. His eyes lit up as he said, Now I really believe that there are treasures inside. Although Southern Sky Sword is shameless, arrogant, and despotic, his eyesight is not bad. Taoist Wuliang didn't deliberately lower his voice. Southern Sky Sword's face instantly darkened. He gritted his teeth, wishing that he could kill Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang immediately. Where are we going? Taoist Wuliang asked impatiently. Precious Treasure Pavilion. Ling Xiao glanced at Southern Sky Sword, who was following behind him, and said, Precious Treasure Pavilion's hundreds of thousands of years of reputation can be trusted. It's not like Southern Sky Temple, which cheats and scams. It's simply a black shop. Chapter 485. Southern Sky Temple was a business of the Nantian family. Like the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was spread all over the War God continent, and brought a large amount of resources to the Nantian family. Although the Southern Sky Temple didn't have as long a history as the Precious Treasure Pavilion, its reputation was still trustworthy. Otherwise, it wouldn't have such a large business. This bastard wants to go to the Precious Treasure Pavilion? Good. I want to see what he's up to. Southern Sky Sword gritted his teeth and said. Then he led his lackeys and followed after them. In the south of Heavenly God City, there was a manor shrouded in sunlight. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and the spiritual energy was abundant. Exotic flowers bloomed everywhere, like a paradise. This was where the Precious Treasure Pavilion was located. The Precious Treasure Pavilion of Heavenly God City was one of the largest branches of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. There weren't many branches on the War God continent that could compare to it. Here, besides selling all sorts of treasures and elixirs, the most important thing was stone gambling. Stone gambling accounted for more than half of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's income. Every day, it brought in a large amount of money. Moreover, many of the ancient stones in the Precious Treasure Pavilion were brought out by adventurers from the depths of ancient mines. They were extremely precious and would often produce rare treasures that would shake the entire Heavenly God City. I heard that the stone garden in the Precious Treasure Pavilion is the best in the entire Heavenly God City. Today, we must broaden our horizons. That's right. It's best if we can find a rare treasure in one of the ancient stones. Then we'll be rich. Ling Xiao had just arrived at the Precious Treasure Pavilion when he saw many young geniuses. They were all walking towards the Precious Treasure Pavilion in groups. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. I heard that the Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace and the Holy Son of the Sun Palace will be here today. The women of the Moon Palace are all as beautiful as fairies. The Holy Maiden is even more beautiful. Looks like we're in for a treat today. That's right. I heard that the Holy Son of the Sun Palace is coming. He's the favorite disciple of the Sun Palace Master. I wonder how talented he is. The Moon Prefecture, the Sun Prefecture, and the Extreme Star Prefecture are the closest to Qing Prefecture. The geniuses of the Moon Palace and the Sun Palace are all here. I believe that the Star of the Star Palace will be here soon. That's right. Although not all of the 5 stars of Star Palace will come, there should be 2 or 3 stars. Apart from the 3 palaces, I heard that many hidden ancient clans, such as the Nantian family, the Jiang family, and even the princes and princesses of the ancient kingdom of Phoenix, the White Tiger, and the Black Tortoise are here. Hee, the Heavenly God Convention. I'm really looking forward to it. Ling Zhao's heart trembled. So many peerless geniuses had come for the Empyrean God Stone. However, the Empyrean God Stone was still hidden in the imperial city of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Ordinary people had no chance of seeing it. Is that the 3rd young master of the Nantian family? Someone with good eyesight immediately noticed Southern Sky Sword, and the others behind Ling Xiao. Third young master actually came to the precious treasure pavilion. What a rare guest. I heard that the ancient stones of the Southern Sky Temple are not much inferior to the precious treasure pavilion. Immediately, many young geniuses went up to greet the South Sky Sword with great respect. The South Sky Sword responded with a smile, but in the end, it was escorted by the crowd into the precious treasure pavilion. Brother Southern Sky, why have you come to the precious treasure pavilion? Could it be that you want to gamble on stones? A young man with a head full of golden hair, a slender figure, golden eyes, and a single horn on his head asked. His eyes were filled with curiosity. Ling Xiao's eyes moved. This young man was actually a demon king of the Golden Rhino clan. He was already at the 6th heavenly layer of Demon King realm. This young master is just here to play. I met a big idiot on the way. He actually spent 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones. Do you think this person's head was kicked by a donkey? The South Sky Sword laughed while looking at Ling Xiao provocatively. 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones? This is really a big idiot. Does he have too many pure yang pills and nowhere to spend them? Everyone was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. It was impossible for the soul-breaking stone to contain any heaven and earth rare treasures. This was common knowledge, and many of the geniuses knew a thing or two about stone gambling. With 30,000 pure yang pills, one could go to the precious treasure pavilion's heaven-grade stone garden to choose an ancient stone. Who is that person? What an idiot. If he really has so many pure yang pills that he can't spend them all, I can help him out by kicking his head with my hooves and forcing him to hand over the pure yang pills. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan grinned. That's right. Third young master, did that guy come to the precious treasure pavilion? This big idiot is so rich. If we don't scam him, we will be letting him down. A handsome young man in a green robe said with a smile. He was a disciple of the 5 Elements sect. He was surrounded by a 5-colored divine light. Although the 5 Elements sect was not as powerful as those martial Dao Holy Lands, there were still half-step Supreme Being elders in the sect. They were very powerful. That's the kid. Did you see him? That Taoist beside him. Don't be fooled by his good looks. He is actually a fool. He actually dared to flirt with the 9th princess. He was almost killed by the 9th princess with her sword. The South Sky Sword glanced at Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang and said, everyone's mocking of Ling Xiao made him feel a little better. Are these two the big idiot and the second idiot that the third young master was talking about? He actually dared to flirt with the 9th princess. He's really lucky. He must be tired of living. The crowd sized up Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang and mocked them. Especially Taoist Wuliang. He looked as handsome as jade and had an extraordinary temperament. The horsetail whisk in his hand fluttered in the wind, making him look like an otherworldly expert. Anyone who looked at him could not help but feel ashamed of their inferiority. These young talents were all extremely arrogant. However, when they saw Taoist Wuliang, they could not help but admit their inferiority. Therefore, they did not hold back and belittled Taoist Wuliang without restraint. Is that girl in green armor the 9th princess of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon? What did I do to make the 9th princess fall for me? Looks like I can't reject the position of the prince consort. Taoist Wuliang's eyes lit up as he muttered to himself. The 9th princess of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon was called Yuanwan. She was the favorite daughter of the human emperor of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Who would have thought that she would parade around with the Azure Dragon guards? Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and pretended that he did not hear what Taoist Wuliang said. This Taoist is indeed a second idiot. He actually said that the 9th princess fell for him? He must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. Brother Jean, please give him 2 more hooves on his head. The crowd burst into laughter, their eyes full of mockery. Some even asked the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan to give Taoist Wuliang 2 more hooves. You're right. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. The big idiot spent 30,000 pure yang pills to buy the soul stone. The second idiot lost his mind. These two are a perfect match. Both are idiots. Chapter 486. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan was originally a golden rhino. His body was very muscular and he laughed. His body was very strong. Although he was in human form, he did not change his ferocious nature. If he stomped down, an ordinary noble realm expert would probably have his head smashed. Idiot. Ling Xiao glanced at Southern Sky Sword from the corner of his eyes. Southern Sky Sword immediately flew into a rage. For some reason, Southern Sky Sword did not like Ling Xiao. He was easily angered by Ling Xiao. He jumped up and cursed. Bastard, you are the idiot. Your whole family are idiots. Ling Xiao sneered. Who are you calling an idiot? Southern Sky Sword answered without thinking. I'm calling you an idiot. You are indeed an idiot. You don't even have a brain. Ling Xiao sneered. Southern Sky Sword immediately realized that he had been tricked by Ling Xiao. He was so angry that his body trembled. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. Kid, don't try to win a battle of words. Don't you like stone gambling? Do you have the guts to gamble with us? The genius disciple of the Five Elements sect rolled his eyes and sneered. Stone gambling? Ling Xiao was slightly stunned. These guys wanted to gamble with him? Yes, stone gambling. Do you dare? Southern Sky Sword said fiercely. If you lose, you are an idiot. Clearly, Southern Sky Sword hated the word idiot and wanted to get back at Ling Xiao. Don't tell me you are scared. If you are, kneel down and apologize. Say that you are an idiot. Then, give us 100 slaps and we will let you go. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan sneered. Little brother, let's gamble with them. I will definitely win this group of trash and make them cry for their parents. Leave me all your clothes. Daoist Wuliang rolled his eyes and chuckled. Stone gambling? Sure, how do you want to gamble? Ling Xiao said indifferently. Seeing that Ling Xiao had taken the bait, Southern Sky Sword's eyes immediately revealed a hint of success. He said, we'll each choose 3 ancient stones and cut out the treasures. Whoever cuts out the most valuable treasure wins. If you win, not only will we give you all the treasures, we will also compensate you with 10 times the amount of pure yang pills. If you lose, the treasures will belong to us, and you will compensate us with 10 times the amount of pure yang pills. Do you dare? The Southern Sky Sword originally wanted to say 1 ancient stone, but it was afraid that Ling Xiao would get lucky, so it changed it to 3 ancient stones. This method of stone gambling was simple and straightforward, but Ling Xiao did not intend to let them off so easily. Ling Xiao laughed coldly and said, no problem, but I want to add one more condition. The loser has to kneel down, kowtow, slap himself, and shout I'm a big idiot 3 times. Do you dare? Southern Sky Sword and the others were stunned. This kid was really ruthless. If Ling Xiao lost, it wouldn't matter if he scolded himself. However, if the Southern Sky Sword lost, it would be a huge joke. The entire Southern Sky family would probably become a laughing stock. A country bumpkin who would even buy a breaking soul stone. How could I lose? I'll bet with him. South Sky Sword thought to himself. He immediately agreed with a cold smile. All right, we'll bet with you. We'll all bet on young Master Nantian. Kid, don't regret it when you lose. Ha ha ha, we're going to earn 10,000 pure yang pills for free. This kid is really a child of wealth. Child of wealth. He's just a big idiot and a second idiot. They're going to cry later. The genius of the Five Elements sect, the young monster king of the Golden Rhino tribe, and many other young talents all agreed with a mocking look on their faces. Words are no guarantee. All of you make a heavenly oath. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. It was time to make these bastards bleed. What Ling Xiao lacked the most now was pure yang pills. If he wanted to break through from LV1 to LV9 of the noble realm, Ling Xiao estimated that even 1,000,000 pure yang pills might not be enough. It was a good opportunity to get some from these guys. Naturally, no one objected. Ling Xiao, the Southern Sky Sword, and the others all made a heavenly oath. There were a total of 24 people standing on the side of the Southern Sky Sword. In other words, if Ling Xiao lost, not only would the treasures he obtained go to the Southern Sky Sword, he would also have to pay out 250,000 pure yang pills. This was definitely a huge sum. It's the Yellowstone Garden. Kid, let's make a bet in the Yellowstone Garden. If it's the black stone garden, earth stone garden, or even the sky stone garden, I'm afraid you won't even be able to afford the ancient stones. The southern sky sword laughed coldly. The main reason was that the southern sky sword felt that he had some confidence in the yellow stone garden. If it was the black stone garden, then it would depend on his luck. He did not want to fail miserably. The yellow stone garden is fine too, Ling Xiao said indifferently. The stone gardens of the Precious Treasure Pavilion were divided into 4 grades: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. The yellow stone garden had the most ancient stones, and it was also the cheapest. Some stones only cost a few hundred pure yang pills to buy 1 ancient stone. The sky stone garden was the most precious. The ancient stones there were sold by the kilogram. 1 kilogram of ancient stone would cost at least tens of thousands of pure yang pills. Even the genius disciples of the sacred grounds would not dare to casually sell them. They were all reserved for the old monsters. The yellow stone garden was very vast. It covered an area of dozens of miles. There were at least hundreds of thousands of ancient stones of different shapes placed on the stone platform. Some were black, some emitted golden light, some contained Tao intent, and some had unfathomable power. There were many intertwining auras, and it was incomparably mysterious. There were already many people choosing ancient stones in the yellow stone garden. When they heard that Ling Xiao was going to bet with the southern sky sword, they immediately gathered around. This kid looks very unfamiliar. I wonder which sacred ground he is from. He dares to bet with the southern sky sword. The calf is not afraid of the tiger. The southern sky family has a long history. They might not be able to make a decision on some of the precious ancient stones, but most of the ancient stones would have no treasures as long as they look at them. That's right. It looks like this kid is going to lose. Everyone was discussing animatedly. However, most of them were not optimistic about Ling Xiao. The time limit is the burning of an incense stick. Both sides will choose an ancient stone to decide the winner. The genius disciple of the 5 Elements sect was called Zhang Yifan. He temporarily acted as the referee and lit up a stick of incense. The burning of an incense stick was about an hour. If one wanted to pick out a precious ancient stone in the yellow stone garden in an hour, it would be a test of one's vision and stone reading skills. Little brother, I still don't know your name, Taoist Wuliang asked. Little brother Long Outyan. Ling Xiao smiled and borrowed the name of his cheap cousin. Ling Xiao was going to use this stone gambling to make a name for himself. If the old goat and the others heard the name Long Outyan, they would definitely know that it was Ling Xiao. Long Outyan? What a good name. The dragon fights in the wild, and its arrogance soars to the sky. Little brother, you are not a fish in a pond. You will definitely soar to the sky in the future. Taoist Wuliang praised and said, there are 3 ancient stones. I will choose 2, and little brother, you choose 1. How about it? Sure. Ling Xiao said nonchalantly. Ling Xiao did not expect Taoist Wuliang to be so loyal. He was actually willing to get involved in this mess. However, Ling Xiao guessed that Taoist Wuliang was most likely tempted by the hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills. A small part of it was because he wanted to teach this group of arrogant guys a lesson. The ancient stones in the yellow stone garden were not very precious. Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes could see through the surface of the stones and faintly see whether there were treasures inside. Chapter 487. The yellow stone garden was surrounded by towering ancient trees and dense spirit energy. Ancient stones were displayed in the garden, emitting a mysterious fluctuation. Nantian's sword and the black-robed middle-aged man had already begun to pick the ancient stones. Everyone's attention was attracted to them, wanting to learn some secret techniques of stone gambling from the Nantian family. The black-robed middle-aged man walked straight to the center of the stone garden. There were a few ancient stones with the strongest Taoist rhythm there. They looked extremely huge. The surface of the stones was mottled, and there were mysterious patterns on them. However, these ancient stones were born from the heaven and earth. It was very strange. Every time the black-robed man walked in front of an ancient stone, he would stop for a moment, and then gently touch it with his palm. In the center of his palm, there was a purple mist, which shone together with the ancient stone. It was as if within the mist, one could see the things hidden within the ancient stone. Wang. The black-robed man looked very mysterious. His eyes were tightly shut as purple mist emitted from his palm. He was using his heart to feel the ancient stone. Brother Nantian, could this be the Nantian family's purple cloud spiritual art? The genius disciple of the Five Elements sect revealed a trace of shock in his eyes as he slowly said, "That's right, it should be the purple cloud spiritual art. Rumor has it that when cultivated to the extreme, one can sense all things and explore the heaven and earth. It's mysterious and unfathomable." The young fiend king of the Golden Rhino race also sighed. He had also heard of this secret technique. You guys have good eyesight. This is indeed the purple cloud spiritual art. Second uncle is proficient in the purple cloud spiritual art. He has seen countless ancient stones in our Nantian house. Second uncle's purple cloud spiritual art is among the best in our Nantian family. Nantian Sword smiled confidently. I heard that the first young master's purple cloud spiritual art has been cultivated to perfection. Once the purple clouds are released, it can travel for 30,000 miles. Not only is its power unfathomable, it can also explore the heavens. If the first young master was here, I'm afraid first fool and second fool would lose even faster. Everyone was originally full of confidence in the Nantian family. At this moment, they believed that victory was already in their hands. It was as if the 10,000 pure yang pills were already in their hands. Someone mentioned the first young master of the Nantian family, with eyes full of admiration. Nantian Sword's eyes also revealed a trace of admiration as he said, "My big brother is naturally a heavenly martial prodigy. He is one of the top geniuses of the war god continent. His purple cloud spiritual art is naturally the strongest in my Nantian Sword. However, there's no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. Second uncle is enough to deal with these two idiots. So. We have to thank the third young master. If it wasn't for him, how could we win 10,000 pure yang pills?" Everyone walked around the three ancient stones. Although they didn't understand, they could feel that these three ancient stones were extraordinary. They were surrounded by a mysterious Tao intent. The young geniuses who participated in the stone gambling laughed heartily. Their eyes were filled with excitement. 10,000 pure yang pills was not a small amount to them. Look at that big idiot. He actually walked towards the soul-breaking stone? Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Someone exclaimed and pointed at Ling Xiao. They saw that Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang didn't walk to the center of the stone garden. Instead, they walked in front of a pile of black stones. Everyone recognized this pile of black stones. They were soul-breaking stones. Normally, they were just scraps of ancient stones. It was impossible to cut them into treasures. Ling Xiao knew that Taoist Wuliang's physiognomy technique was indeed extraordinary. Perhaps Taoist Wuliang couldn't cut those precious ancient stones. However, the ancient stones in the stone garden were not difficult for Taoist Wuliang. He had already chosen two ancient stones in the stone garden. One of them was only the size of a fist, while the other was as tall as a person. It was a faint yellow color, as if it was emitting a golden light. It was very extraordinary. These two ancient stones were worth 8,000 pure yang pills. Ling Xiao strolled around as if nothing had happened. Under the effect of the heavenly star god Eye, the ancient stones in the stone garden faintly emitted a mysterious light. Some were strong, some were weak. It allowed Ling Xiao to see the fluctuations of spiritual energy and the strength of Tao aura within the ancient stones. Originally, Ling Xiao had already chosen an ancient stone. However, the wordless heavenly book began to tremble. The source of the trembling was this pile of soul-breaking stones. Ling Xiao looked through the pile of soul-breaking stones and finally saw the ancient stone in front of him. It was jet black and looked like a large millstone. Not only did it have soul-breaking marks, but it was also cracked all over. There were also black spots on it like a honeycomb. It looked extremely ordinary. Compared to the ancient stones chosen by the black-robed middle-aged man and Taoist Wuliang, this ancient stone did not have any fluctuations. Even Ling Zhao's heavenly star god, I could not see anything special. If it were not for the fact that the wordless heavenly book clearly indicated that this ancient stone was not ordinary, Ling Zhao might have chosen it. I say, little brother, why did you choose another soul-breaking stone? If we lose, the pure yang pills are a small matter. I will not kneel down and apologize. If you dare to cheat me, I will fight you to the death. Daoist Wu Yang's face turned ugly. He looked at Ling Zhao with an unfriendly gaze. There were so many ancient stones in the stone garden, but Ling Zhao had chosen a soul-breaking stone. Don't worry, Daoist Wu Yang. We will not lose. There are good treasures in this ancient stone. Ling Zhao smiled. Looking at Ling Zhao's confident look, Daoist Wu Yang did not know why he chose to believe him. You better do as you say. Otherwise, I will not forgive you. Daoist Wu Yang said fiercely. Daoist Wu Yang, what are you nervous about? Although there are 3 ancient herbs in the 3 ancient stones, their quality is not very good. Don't worry, we will win. Ling Zhao said confidently. You can see the things in the 3 ancient stones? Daoist Wu Yang looked as if he had seen a ghost. He looked at Ling Zhao from head to toe and suddenly realized that he could not see through this young man. Time's up. The voice of the young genius from 5 Elements sect sounded. He looked at Ling Zhao and Daoist Wu Yang expressionlessly and said, Have you chosen your ancient stones? Yes, these are the 3 stones. Ling Zhao put the black millstone together with Daoist Wu Yang's 2 ancient stones and said with a smile. Ha. Soul-breaking stone again? I say, boy, are you so poor that you don't have any pure yang pills? I'm dying of laughter. Just now, when Third Young Master and I were on the street outside, we saw this kid spend 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones. This kid is really a big idiot. There is no need to compete. There are no treasures in the soul-breaking stones. They will lose for sure. That fool is not that stupid, is he? The 2 ancient stones he chose look good. Chapter 488. A bunch of ignorant fools. This ancient stone of mine contains a treasure on the same level as a supreme elixir. You'll be shocked to death when you cut it out. Ling Zhao glanced at them and sneered. Supreme elixir? If you can cut out a treasure, I'll eat this soul-breaking stone. South Sky Sword sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. Eat the soul-breaking stone? That's a good idea. Why don't we increase the stakes? If we win, you'll eat this soul-breaking stone. How about it? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he chuckled. Southern Sky Sword did not back down and said, Do you think I'm afraid of you? If you lose, you'll have to eat the soul-breaking stone too. Deal. Ling Zhao chuckled. The soul-breaking stone was incomparably hard, comparable to a treasure. Southern Sky Sword might not be able to chew it even if he broke his teeth. After that, Ling Zhao and Southern Sky Sword swore the heavenly oath. Kid, you'll eat this soul-breaking stone for sure. Later, not only will you have to kneel down and call yourself a fool, but you'll also have to chew the soul-breaking stone. This is the price you have to pay for provoking my Southern Sky family. Southern Sky Sword sneered. Cut the crap. Since the ancient stone has been chosen, let's cut it open. Ling Zhao could not be bothered with him and directly requested to cut the ancient stone. Cutting the ancient stone was also a technical job. It required a special stone cutter and a special knife cutting technique. Those knives were all treasures of the Dao artifact level. It was not an easy task to completely remove the treasures within the ancient stone, especially many supreme elixirs from the ancient times. They were hidden within the ancient stone, and were very fragile. If one used too much force, it was very likely that the elixir would be destroyed. Southern Sky Sword had already found a stone cutter. With a wave of his hand, the stone cutter walked towards the ancient stone. Kid, don't tell me you can't even afford to hire a stone cutter. Do you want me to hire one for you? Southern Sky Sword glanced at Ling Zhao and realized that Ling Zhao had no intention of cutting the stone. So he mocked. I'm afraid that when we cut out the ancient stone, you'll be scared to death. I'll cut yours first. Ling Zhao sneered. Since you're not giving up, I'll fulfill your wish. South Sky Sword was in high spirits. He felt that he had already won. The thought of Ling Zhao's dumbfounded expression, kneeling on the ground and slapping his face, looking like an idiot, and even wanting to gnaw on the soul-breaking stone made him feel extremely satisfied. Wang. The stone-cutting man was a burly man with bronze skin all over his body. His muscles were well developed, and his blood energy was exuberant. A curved blade appeared in his hand. It was like a full moon, emitting a mysterious light and incomparably clear. In the hands of the stone-cutter, the ancient stone that was the size of a human head seemed to be skinned. Under the effect of the scimitar, the stone skin fluttered and slowly began to peel off the things inside. The stone-cutter's technique was very proficient. Not long after, a cyan light began to emanate from the ancient stone. Moreover, the light became more and more intense. Moreover, a mysterious fragrance began to pervade the air. Green light and fragrance? Could it be that there is a supreme treasure medicine in this ancient stone? Someone's body trembled, and his eyes revealed an extremely excited look. The Nantian family's purple aura psychic technique is indeed extraordinary. They managed to obtain a supreme treasure the moment they cut it out. I wonder what level of treasure it is. If it's a saint medicine, the entire heavenly god city will probably be shaken. Everyone in the stone garden was alarmed. Their faces were filled with anticipation. They surrounded the stonecutter, wanting to see what kind of treasure would be cut out. The stonecutter's technique was very proficient. Towards the end, he began to slow down. Moreover, beads of sweat began to appear on his forehead. He was extremely focused, and the scimitar in his hand was incomparably stable. Finally, when all the stone skin was peeled off, a cyan flower appeared before everyone's eyes. The cyan light was blazing, and auspicious qi pervaded the air. The fragrance assailed everyone's nostrils, and their eyes were filled with amazement. The cyan flower was surrounded by 5-colored clouds. It looked extremely mysterious. This is the 5-colored illusion flower? The legendary supreme treasure that can increase the power of the primordial spirit and aid in breaking through to the next level? That's right, it's the 5-colored illusion flower. Unfortunately, it's not the 7-colored illusion flower. The 5-colored illusion flower is only a king medicine, while the 7-colored illusion flower is a supreme saint medicine. It's extremely useful for those at the peak of the imperial Dao realm. The 5-colored illusion flower is also very impressive. However, it seems to be slightly damaged. Moreover, after being sealed for so many years, its medicinal efficacy has also decreased. I'm afraid it's only worth 50,000 pure yang pills. Everyone was discussing. Someone recognized the origin of this flower. It was the legendary 5-colored illusion flower. However, 1/3 of the flower was damaged, and the medicinal fragrance was not as pure. Therefore, its value was not very high. 50,000 pure yang pills is also very impressive. This ancient stone has less than 5,000 pure yang pills, but it's worth 10 times more. As expected of the Nantian family, the young genius of the 5 elements sect flattered Nantian Sword with a flattering smile on his face. Nantian Sword's eyes were filled with regret, but he was also extremely excited. He glanced at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang proudly. "Third young master, I'll pay 50,000 pure yang pills. Sell it to me." "I'll pay 60,000 pure yang pills. 70,000. Although this 5-colored illusion flower is a little damaged, it's still very useful for breaking through from the peak of the noble realm to the monarch realm." Everyone was extremely envious. They began to bid against each other, wanting to buy the 5-colored illusion flower. "Everyone, this 5-colored illusion flower will not be sold for now because it's related to the bet between me and this kid. Let's talk about it after all 3 ancient stones are cut out." Nantian Sword cleared his throat and said in a clear voice. "Betting stones with the 3rd young master? Is this kid out of his mind?" "That's right. I'm afraid this kid will even lose his underwear." Everyone was stunned. Then they sneered at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang. "It's just a damaged 5-colored illusion flower. You're treating it as a treasure? How ignorant. You'll be shocked to death when I cut out the ancient stones." Daoist Wuyang sneered. "Don't talk nonsense with him. Continue." Nantian Sword sneered and said to the person cutting the stone. The person cutting the stone walked towards the 2nd ancient stone. The second ancient stone was also the size of a human head. Soon the treasure inside was cut out. It was a piece of azure copper. It was a supreme treasure used to refine top-grade Dao artifacts. Although it couldn't compare to the 5-colored illusion flower, it was still worth 30,000 pure yang pills. The last ancient stone was the one that everyone was looking forward to the most. This ancient stone weighed at least a few thousand kilograms. It looked like a ferocious beast and emitted a terrifying aura. The person cutting the stone took 4 hours to peel off most of the stone. Finally, at the core, a dazzling golden light was revealed. Strands of divine chains of order intertwined with each other. It was like the laws of the great Tao. It was extremely beautiful. Boom. Above the void, there seemed to be thunder and lightning. Dark clouds rolled as if a lightning tribulation was about to descend. It contained an extremely terrifying power. Above the ancient stone, a faint shadow appeared. It was a dazzling golden pill. It was the size of a baby's fist. It was round and simple, and it emitted a power that made the heavens and earth tremble. It's a pill. The fluctuation of the laws and the power. It's definitely a supreme pill. An old man with white hair and beard exclaimed in surprise. His eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. What? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.